Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Women's Speed Chess Championships. I'm Jennifer Shahadi, and I am here with Nemo. Hello, good morning.
Good morning. How are you today?
Um, Gosh, one second. Well, I'm really excited about today's match, Nemo. What about you?
Yeah, same here. I think this is going to be one extremely tense match. I mean, both players are just incredibly strong. So, super
Yeah.
hyped.
Yeah, I mean, we've got Grandmaster Antonetta Stefanova. I mean, I saw her play her first match and she was just completely dominant against Daisy Corey. She played really fast and really well. But today's match, where she's playing against Grandmaster Lei Tingjie, is really going to be, I think, too close to call. Do you have a pick yet, Nemo?
I'm not entirely too certain about. I haven't really seen Lei Tingjie play Blitz, I think. Maybe I've seen Stefanova play a little bit beforehand, but I just think it's going to be one intense match no matter how the result goes.
Oh, such a waffle. Okay, how about this? We watch one game and then we both decide.
Well, yeah,
Although,
one game we both decide sounds good. We'll see how they're doing today. Yeah.
all right. And yeah, let's take a look at the format so that we can kind of reminisce at how we got here and where we are going. 16 player bracket. There were 8 invited players seeded by their May FIDE Blitz ratings, and 8 other players qualified in really difficult and intense qualifiers. Now, these round of 16 matches are divided into 3 segments, which speed chess fans will be very familiar with: 75 minutes of 5 minute, 45 minutes of 3 minute, and 25 minutes of bullets. So, yeah, Nemo, which is your favorite of these 3 formats?
Well, I definitely think that the 1+1 is my favorite. I'm a huge fan of plus watching Bullet. And I'm playing Bullet, of course. So I'm definitely most hyped for the 1+1 portion. But that being said, I do think 5+1 will probably give us the highest quality games, and that's where we will see, the true strength of both of the players.
Absolutely, yeah. So that's really, I think, a very big strength of Stefanova's. She played really strong and solid 5 minute chess in the games that I've seen with her. Let's take a look at the prizes, what they're all playing for here at this Women's Speed Chess Championships, which is presented by chess.com and FIDE. First place, $20,000. Not bad for an online tournament. That is a nice chunk of change, $58,000 in total.
Yeah, the prize fund is definitely looking good, and every single player who made it into the main event has taken home at least $1,000.
Yeah, really nice to see the support of women in chess. And let's take a look at the results that we had in the quarterfinals as Katerina Lano got through Nana Zagnidze, who had earlier beat my countrywoman, Irina Krush. Ho Yifan won against Bibi Asubayeva. Harika won against Anna Muzichuk. Now, that's a really big result, as I think it's the only one where a qualifier won against an invited player. And then we have Stefanova versus Lei Tingjie, who are also both invited players.
Yeah, really strong players. We've seen some very intense matches. But before that, we do have, some pretty exciting stuff coming up today. And I'm super ready to be watching some more speed chess today. Wow, it's early here for me. So like my brain is gonna be on fire just watching people battle it out like this early in the morning. Hopefully everything's gonna go well.
Oh, yeah, I can't wait. I'm so excited to call this with you, Nemo. This is actually our first time on screen together, so very
Yep.
excited to call this match for Chess TV. We'll be back in just a couple minutes with the very first game of Stefanova versus Lei Tingjie. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Women's Speed Chess Championships. I'm Jennifer Shahadi. I am here with Nemo, and our games are about to get started as we have Grandmaster Lei Tingjie versus Grandmaster Antoinette Stefanova, starting with game 5 in a 1-second increment.
Yeah, I mean, things are about to go down. Both players look super, super, super ready. And we actually do have kickoff with the first game. Really high ratings here from both players. Wow. Almost 2,700 on the Blitz.
Yeah, they are crushing it, the women here at the Women's Speed Chess Championships. I feel like a lot of new record ratings have been reached in this competition as we get the first Roy Lopez kicked off, Antoinette Stefanova playing with the black pieces, and Tingjie playing with white. Will she make 2,700 in this game and win the first game, or will Antoinette fight back? Well, look at the way this knight has maneuvered to G6. I always feel like that it's such a beautiful square to get your knight to when you're playing the Roy Lopez as black.
Mm-hmm.
But is it too slow because white just got d4? And what are your thoughts here?
I have honestly never seen the 97 to 96 maneuver this fast in the game. Basically, I've always seen it either happen either a lot later or
Yeah.
never at all. Move 7, knight to g6 does mean that you have spent 2 moves on the knight right out of the opening, and that takes a little bit away from your development because now you are simply not castled. You got to play f6. Not maybe something we want to do when the king is probably going to castle king side.
Yeah, and we did have the option to take on e5, but Tingjie decided not to go for that and instead play bishop g5 back to e3, castle. So that's good because she can slide her king over to h8 soon and kind of like fix that f6 weakness.
Yeah. Well, after d5, there's not too much to worry about on this diagonal anymore. However, Tingjie is going to try to fix black's pawn structure and try to make this bishop suffer a little bit.
I love the way that white is playing this from like a strategic point of view, that she's trying to punish black for playing for knight g6 and knight f4 so early. Normally the bishop on c8 really wants to get to g4, but I think Antoinette is going to reckon with sticking it on b7 instead.
Yeah, well, pretty difficult to push up this pawn right now, unless, white moves her queen, which she doesn't have much reason to. So I do predict this queen going to be staying on d6 for a little while longer.
So white also has a development question with knight on b1. Is she going to just play knight d2, knight f1 like you often do in the Roy Lopez? Or does she have some other ideas in mind, like, c4 and knight c3?
Honestly, there's a lot of ways you can move this knight, I think, in the Roy Lopez. I'm always a fan of knight d2, knight f1. Maybe go to e3 and then you can stick it on d5, or f5 is a little less likely because there is a knight on e7, but a lot of creative ways you can make this knight useful for your position.
One thing that concerns me a little bit is that the rook on a7 is loose. That just makes me nervous in a blitz game. But
absolutely, yeah. That's how chess is, right? Lose pieces to drop off is a rule that my coach always used to tell me. He's like, that piece is loose. You're gonna lose it. You're gonna lose it. And he was oftentimes right.
Yeah, especially in blitz chess, especially for when you're starting out. Actually, my women's class, my adult women's class at US Chess called it unprotected pieces drop off. And I was like, oh, that doesn't sound as cool. But then the acronym is up to instead of L. That's actually pretty cool.
Yeah, I like that. But for everybody who is wondering why they are potentially losing pieces in their own games, well, maybe the reason is because you're not protecting your pieces. So just being a little bit safer, being a little bit more prophylactic with your moves, like Stefanova here played rook to b7, where it's now protected. It's a really good idea because you quite simply just make sure your rook is protected now. And if it's protected, well, it's harder to lose it.
I love it. Yeah, it's almost like she heard us. Rook to B7 after so many moves of that rook being unprotected on A7. But of course, the rook on B7 also has this potential to cause havoc on the B file. So a
Mhm.
really multi-purpose move. As it's funny, both players had harmonious development except for one piece, right? For white, it's the knight on B1, and for black, it's the bishop on B7.
Yeah, absolutely. This position isn't perfect for either side, which is probably why Black is not getting, strategically crushed in this position because I have to say, I think this pawn is very uncomfortable. One of those backward pawns that's gonna annoy Antonetta for the rest of the game. But that being said, of course, White's piece coordination is not perfect. So trying to attack this pawn or even trying to attack the isolated A pawn is not that easy.
It's not, because if we played bishop a4 to win the pawn on d7, we would give up the more important b2 pawn for a pawn that's already really weak. So
Exactly.
that's not what white wants to do. And bishop b7 was just played. Take a look at the time. One thing that impressed me about Stefanova's performance against Daisy Corey was that she was so good with the handling of her time.
Mm-hmm.
And she does seem to be ahead on the clock in this game, but both are really managing it well. Queen a3, by the way, protects b2,
But
reintroducing.
does that allow d5 in this situation?
Oh, d5 is a move you're jonesing to play, huh?
Yeah, I would love to have tried to play d5. Of course,
Well,
Antonetta probably plays queen 7 just to get rook d8.
yeah, I think I could have maybe taken and tried c4.
Mm, right, for
Yeah,
everybody wondering, d5, maybe after takes, there's a bishop takes, there is c4 here with a fork. So a little too early for that.
by the way, hello to everybody in the chat. They're predicting at this point who's going to win. And I have to say, the game is not giving us many clues yet because they're both playing so well so far,
Mm.
playing practically on the clock. How about you? Do you reckon to predict at this point before the game is over?
Oh, I mean honestly, I think it's a little hard to predict off one game, but I'm really liking Tingjie's sort of style so far. She's playing it quite slow. She's just got that slight positional advantage, and she just seems to be, slowly making it a little bit bigger. So I definitely leaning a little bit more towards Tingjie at this moment. I'm
Okay.
liking the way it's going for her.
Okay, then I'm gonna pick for Stefanova because I don't know. I like her creativity, and I like
Hmm.
how even if her position is kind of difficult to play, she still plays fast. Like
Yeah.
this is a weird one, and you can see a lot of players getting into big time pressure in this one with black, and she's just moving.
Yeah, it's absolutely incredible because, it is blitz at the end of the day for everybody tuning in. So you don't have a lot of time to figure out everything per move, right? So definitely, Stefanova is always super impressive on blitz, but this is starting to look a little bit uncomfortable for her.
It is, but look at the time.
Yeah, look at the time. It's very true. Time is also a consideration when it comes to chess. Um, it's much easier to play if you actually have time on the clock. Once it drops down to like a couple of seconds and you're playing on that 1 second increment, it becomes incredibly difficult to find moves. The risk of flagging is very real for Tingjie right now.
Yeah, she's getting too interested in the position. I mean, that's typical. Like people who love chess, who love the Ray Lopez, this is a fascinating strategic battle. So you kind of want to like think about what you would play in a real game,
Mm-hmm.
but then you have 19 seconds. That's not
Yeah.
good. That's not good. She's played the move rook c1. I guess she's trying to play. I'm not sure. Maybe. That move is interesting to me. And d5, a move that you have been trying to get in as black for quite some time.
Yeah, I mean, now I think she's losing, Tingjie's losing most of her advantage. I'm still not entirely sure why. Was it possible for her to just take on a5 previously
Yeah, good
and
point. And then
there's
if
no rook a6,
there is
right?
no rook
Because
a6,
yeah,
right? And rook c5, there's a b4. Oh, well, b4, rook c3, right? So
right.
if rook c5, what was your plan?
I'm actually not entirely sure. That's a good question. I mean, even if I played b4, I would still get left with a pass pawn for the rest of the game. So regardless, I'm still okay with playing b4.
I see. Yeah, good point. That's one way
I
to
would
go
still
about
be
it.
happy with playing this position. Because now it just looks like she has to defend along this long diagonal, and that's not easy to do. There's like weak white squares, light squares right next to her king.
Fianchetto knight is usually not our thing,
Yeah.
but I do like the move h4. She's going for it. I mean, she's got 7 seconds left, so she is going to be playing very aggressively here. Queen takes a4, queen b2. Let's see. How do we play aggressively here? I want to stick my knight on g4 at some point. Okay. Well, trading queens.
Oh, no time. This goes back to what you said about Stefanova being a very, very fast blitz player. This is not looking good. That 1 second increment is hard to play with.
Oh, you got to rely on both your instincts and also your internet connection.
Yeah, and speed. Oh no, she flags.
And if one fails, you're done. And there it is. Stefanova wins the first game. You saw that little pullback as she realized, I won this game.
Yeah, it's very difficult to be playing with 1 second increment. It is pretty much like playing like a 5-0. Just trying to not flag, super difficult.
It is. That's right. And that was a great performance by Stefanova. But I mean, Tingjie played great. It was, I think a lot of it traced back to that 1 minute tank when she played rook c1. That was too long.
You don't want to really on a move that you have to think about, like you have to weigh how much time you're using and the value of your move, right? Like sometimes it's just not, worth to be spending a minute on a move. Most of the time, in fact, it's just simply not worth to be spending a whole minute on a move in a 5+1 match.
Yeah, especially if you only have a minute and a half. But it was because she's such a great player, Tingjie, the reason she spent that much time was because it was a critical moment. She was deciding whether or not to take a pawn.
Absolutely.
So, that is the moment that great players will think, but unfortunately it was still too much time here. Like if there's a exchange or something like that, but we're in the second game and Stefanova has just played the move d4, rook to d8 played. This one looks rather balanced to kick it off.
Yeah, this opening is something that I prefer playing white, I think, because my bishops are on lovely, lovely, lovely diagonals. But that aside, it is a very balanced position. I'm enjoying Stefanova's gameplay so far today. Seems to be very solid. She's very focused and, like the amazing player she has been for the past 2 decades, really. She's absolutely crushing it today so far.
Yeah. I think she looks really zoned in. I think in Bulgaria, what it's like 7 hours after this, it looks like she's in peak performance right now.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, time in Bulgaria, time in China. I guess it's probably like 4 o'clock in Bulgaria or something.
Yeah, it's a bit late for them. Well, I mean, it's later for Tingjie than it is for Stefanova, but peak chess playing hours, hopefully, for both of them.
Well, most chess players are night owls, right?
Yes, absolutely. I wonder why that is, actually.
You were definitely a night owl.
Yeah, for sure. I think it's in part of just because college students in general are night owls as well. And then being a streamer makes you even more of a night owl. And now it's just like, yup. But I tried fixing my sleep schedule recently.
All right, so bishop e2 is just played. So let's see what the point of that move is. So if queen c2 trying to trade off queens and get the 7th rank,
yeah.
Well,
rook takes d8.
And then we'd be forced to take with the bishop, right? But instead, queen c6 check was played. And now queen e4, sticking the queen on that beautiful centralized square. A very balanced. Yeah, rook c2 now is a threat. Still a really balanced position because after rook d8, rook takes d8, rook c2 is no longer on tap, and we can just occupy the file with rook d1. I mean, this one looks a lot less juicy than last game.
This is looking very much like a draw, trying to get that h4, h3 in, but there is no way Stefanova will let that happen.
Keep it saucy. That's right. Queen takes pawn now would lead to the disastrous queen b1 check. That's right. Loose pieces do
Oh,
fall off.
maybe there's bishop f6 now.
Oh, yes. Bishop f6. It was a mistake.
Oh
What is
no.
Antoinetta going to do now?
Oh no.
A terrible idea. She's lost a piece.
It would have been a really, really good idea to just try to swap off pieces. But unfortunately, bishop f6 does mean that this is a skewer. And if you go queen d2, well, it doesn't quite matter because the bishop is hanging regardless.
An unfortunate blunder in a very simple position. You know, the thing is, if the position was more complicated, Stefanova would have seen that in an instant.
Yeah, but because yeah, exactly.
It was so simple that she forgot that tactics existed. Always dangerous because tactics, hey, they're always waiting in the wings when you least expect them. But she doesn't get 2 pawns for it. So this isn't going to be child's play to convert.
I think it's really something that everybody from chat can learn as well, right? Just the fact that even though it's an end game doesn't mean that tactics just stops. It's still there. It's just a little bit harder for you to notice it because you're just already in that, oh, it's just a draw mindset, you know, not worried about things anymore. But it's really not quite that easy.
It isn't. No, and here we see she is honestly, this is not easy at all. I mean,
yeah.
She's lucky she has 4 minutes. Well, she's not lucky. She's skillful that she has 4 minutes, that she played this very quickly. But with fewer minutes, I would think that Black is really going to struggle to try to win this.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, one of the perks of Tingjie's position actually is probably the fact that White's king is so weak. So trying to push the a pawn is going to be a little bit harder for Stefanova while she tries to keep her king, you know, safe from all of the threats and all of the checks. But that pause pawn is definitely working benefit of Stefanova right now.
That's right. We really can try to find some construction where we go after h2, but also potentially in a way that stops you from fleeing. So this is why Stefanova played f4, but I don't think this makes her king much safer.
Right. I don't think it comes as a surprise to anybody that opening your king up more when it already was weak makes it any safer. But I think Stefanova is going to try to go for a perpetual check. Unfortunately, Black's king's a little too secure, and she runs out of checks off for queen to g3.
She's really annoyed at herself because she played so well last game, and just that one moment of carelessness, threatened checkmate, gets skewered.
I mean, that is chess, right? That is entirely chess. You make one mistake, you can play a perfect game, and then all of a sudden you make one mistake and it's all over. Quite unlike a lot of other sports. It feels like chess has a very strict 0 tolerance rule for blunders.
Yeah, it's a very punitive game, isn't it? But I mean, absolutely. I think in that way, it has a lot of corollaries with life, you know? Don't make any big mistakes. I'm
getting scared now. Oh no.
Don't make any big mistakes. Yes. You can make a lot of small mistakes.
Right, but if you make a lot of small mistakes, then you're strategically lost. So that doesn't, oh no. Now I think queen g6 here is probably winning, but I mean, you might want to keep the queens on because if all the pawns get traded, then obviously Black will have struggles with winning. So she does have to make the choice now of whether or not to play queen g6. What are you thinking here?
A critical moment for Black now to play queen g6, and that's why she's thinking again. Remember last time she had such a critical moment? She really went in the tank. I think she's going to be thinking here for quite some time. I don't know, though. I don't like, I'd rather keep the queens on the board if I'm not totally sure, because it's your chance. If you're wrong, you're done. But she was sure. She did it.
She did it.
She was sure. Okay, now is Antoinetta going to play h4 to keep her pawns together? Yes, she's done h4. Queen g5, pawn takes g5. And this was the idea that her pawns are more protected now, so it's harder to go after them with the king. And I thought that was really smart of Stefanova.
Yeah, I don't know if I approve of Tingjie's strategy. I was all for the queen exchange, but probably not fixing white's pawn structure. This is probably going to actually be a draw because it's very difficult for you to. There's no way actually you can capture the a4 pawn if you move your king all the way, to the queen side to capture it. Then white's just gonna be able to push and exchange off this pawn. So now we're gonna see the king trying to come here. Very difficult to make progress with this position.
What a brutal start for Lai Tingjie, not only losing this first game, but also just drawing this one. Just goes to show you how much fight there is left in every position. I mean, it's funny because, Stefanova got more compensation than you would expect after that blunder, right? But it
Absolutely.
makes sense because she was able to grab 2 pawns because the queen was distracted winning her piece, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now
it was just a poor strategic decision to really fix white's pawn structure with queen takes g5.
So you don't mind queen g6 beckoning queen takes g6, but then when they play h4, switch your strategy.
Yeah, I mean, I think maybe something like queen to f6 or, make white kind of work for that better pawn structure have been a little bit more important. So.
All right, here we go. Game 3, 1.5 Antoinetta Stefanova and Lai Tingjie with a half a point. Tough start for her, but she goes for this position again, and now we see a change. Knight takes e5 and d4.
All right, this is pretty exciting stuff. Considering it is the Rai Lopez. Nothing against Rai Lopez's, but in fact, that's the opening I play the most. But a lot of the times you do get some, 30 move theory lines. This is actually a really, really nice breath of fresh air because I have never seen this line before.
Yeah, watch out for c5 and c4 and trapping that bishop. So white has to do something about that now. c3.
All right, c3.
So now after c5 and c4, our bishop can slide back to c2.
Yes, indeed. I do like white's position a little bit more. She has the pair of bishops. I always like the pair of bishops. I think that's been so ingrained in me that, hey, you got a pair of bishops? Okay, your position's doing probably pretty good. Obviously, It's not that simple, and this knight is looking pretty good on e5, but still, I would say the endgame structures arising from this position probably favors white a little bit more.
Okay, well, now knight g4, I'm a little worried about c4 and queen b6 check, but I guess you've got everything covered here as white because c4, bishop c2, queen b6 check, king h1, and f2 and e3 are just well covered.
Absolutely. However, developing this knight will be a little bit difficult just because you'll be running into queen to b6 and potentially knight e3. So, yeah.
f5. Okay. She's trying to kind of open the position up, which you usually don't do against the 2 bishops, but in this case, it's principle against principle because she's also trying to open her rook up on f8. h3 played. So now queen b6 check, you still have king h1, right?
Yep, absolutely. One of those, it's a very tactical position, which I think is pretty fun to watch, honestly. Like, I'm just here enjoying the game, obviously, but for both players, there's a lot of tactical stuff that might arise from this position. White's king is looking a little bit weak here, although there is always the h1 square for it to hide on. There's still a lot of weak squares surrounding the king. For example, g3 is a weak dark square and all that. So a lot of things to keep in mind.
She just lashed out with d5, which is very interesting move strategically, allowing move e5. But white played instead takes on d5. And from a practical point of view, I really do like black now because my knights and my bishop goes to b7. My knight can go to e4. It looks like a little bit more fun to play for black at the moment. Although white has her ideas as well. like sticking a knight on e5 and enjoying her own positional strengths. But what do we do after knight e4?
Do we have to take here?
Do we have to?
I mean,
I don't want to, but I guess I might
yeah,
have
even
to.
if you don't, right? This knight will be very annoying, and I suppose you would
Yeah.
try to push it off. Yeah, so the take is very natural. However, while the eval bar says this position is, roughly equal, I think it's much easier to play black just because the idea is so simple, right? Now you have a pass pawn. Well, what do you do with a pass pawn? You sit there and wait for your opponent to suffer because she has to like put all her resources against that pass pawn. So,
Yeah,
you
there
don't,
we
yeah, you don't really want to push it, right? Because then you might drop it. So
yeah, you just want the threat to be stronger than the execution, as they say.
exactly.
And the funny thing is now, normally we would be jonesing to play bishop b7, but I think that Stefanova is just going to stick the bishop on d7 to control the key squares. She's playing
Wow.
b4 for starters, eyeing c3. Okay, bishop e3, threatening knight f5, which would be
Okay.
a juicy idea, attacking checkmate on g7 and the queen on b6. So what do you do now?
Well, I mean, even if knight to f5 happens, I think there's queen to c7 stuff, but
Yep.
Stefanova feeling a little bit risky over there with a little bit fearful of knight to f5, so just plays queen g6, ready to get things traded off and go straight for the end game.
Right. Yeah. And with that pawn being hanging on c3, it gives her a tempo as well. So Lei Tingjie says, keep them on, queen f2. And now what's going on if we take that pawn off?
All right, so I think if knight c3, there is probably at least queen c2.
Yeah.
And you'll get the c4 pawn. So I don't think you can take it, but that's not to say that the c3 pawn is not a weakness. It's very weak. Oh, okay,
Yeah.
so I must have missed something then.
Well, I think it works c1 also. I think she just decided that this was worthwhile because maybe after knight d5, rook c5, a5, and this trade of pawns has opened up some squares for ourselves as well. Maybe bishop d7, sorry, because I don't want a piece getting to c6, do I?
Right.
Not that excited about it, but
This is a very dynamic position. A lot of things happening. Evil Bar still screaming that it's equal, but just because it's equal doesn't mean that the position doesn't have a lot of fun moves in it. So we're gonna see stuff happen.
There are a lot of different kind of qualities of like equal positions, right? Like dead
Yes.
even or equal, but absolutely wild. And this is somewhere in between, I'd say.
Absolutely. This f4 pawn is always going to be annoying.
Yeah, and there's that move, queen f7, with the idea that we are threatening now to take on f4 or to take on e3 and then take on f4. I'm not saying it's going to be winning easily because even if we do win a pawn, you can play like rook c7 and get all sorts of nice counterplay. But it is White's move first, so she's probably not going to allow that. Indeed, she played f5. So now with knight e3, queen e3, bishop f5, you have to reckon with rook f1, rook c7, all sorts of scary moves that you have to reckon with.
Yeah,
Or
absolutely.
just a simple takes on f5 and takes on e4.
Absolutely. I'm always a little bit afraid of playing these positions as white because as the time starts ticking down a little bit more, which is interesting to note, Stefanova actually has less time in this game against Tingjie, which is rare, really rare.
And there she goes. She's getting the pawn on e4. And we have equal pawns. Very equal position after knight takes e3, rook takes e3. 3 versus 3, 2 rooks versus 2 rooks. I believe this one is going to be a draw.
Yeah, it's quite difficult to mess this one up as either's color.
And for such great players, even less likely, right?
Absolutely. I mean, the only thing I can see going wrong is black getting full control of the second file.
Yeah, exactly. And we have time to make sure that doesn't happen. But let's take a look at the chat as we're waiting for this game to end. By the way, hello to everybody in the chat. There are some of your fans, Nemo, who say that they're surprised to see you this early in the morning.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's very rare for me to wake up this morning, but I felt like this match was definitely worth it. I actually have known Lei Tingjie for a very long time, so I met her when I was a lot younger, and she was always somebody I looked up to.
And she was always quite nice to you.
Yeah, she's a very nice person. Haven't talked to her in recent years, but I definitely remember hanging out with her at like World Youths and stuff. She's a few years older than I am, so when you're a kid, obviously that becomes a big age gap. But she's awesome.
And you're going to be playing in a knockout tournament of your own quite soon, right?
Oh yes. Oh God, the World Cup, the Women's World Cup. That will be one intense tournament.
Very exciting. Who's your first round opponent?
Vaishali R. Who I've actually played against before as well. She is
Oh, yeah.
1 year younger than I am. We've always played in the World Youth together. She actually came third in 2014, the year I came first. So this is like a rematch in a way.
That's cool. And she was in the Speed Chess Championships as well, I believe, right?
Yes.
She was doing great in all the qualifiers by Vaishali from India. So that's going to be a fantastic round one matchup. Wow.
Yeah, it's going to be intense. I'm definitely very excited for it. As soon as stuff gets a little bit easier for me to prepare, I'm just waiting for that. Oh, Rook B5 is probably an idea here for white coming up.
That's interesting. Rook B5, but you've got to worry about Rook. So what was the dealio if we just did Rook B5 A4?
Right. I mean, nothing particularly happens, I think, because you both promote at the same time.
Yeah, exactly.
It's always something that's really important to keep in mind. If, for example, the pawn was on A6 and it was a different way, like if you let your opponent get a pass pawn, it's not always a good idea. In fact, it's usually not a good idea to let your opponent have a pass pawn. So things to keep in mind.
Yeah, and it's understandable that you don't go for that in a blitz game because you don't really want to calculate too much unnecessarily.
11 seconds, yeah, with that too, with the lower time.
If you have a choice to make a draw by calculating or one by not calculating and you only have 10 seconds, you always choose a non-calculating one because you never know what you could have missed, right?
Honestly, I think for the most part, if I can just choose to not calculate, I will choose to not calculate. I think that's the general thing I go for.
Life tips on a Monday morning, that's for sure.
Oh yeah, definitely. I treat every game like it's a Monday morning. Speaking of that, it is actually a Monday morning. I don't think days have felt like days to me throughout the entirety of this pandemic. So, all right, and that is a draw. That is a draw.
Well played. 2 draws. This is going to be a tight match. Wow.
Yeah, I mean, that was a very, very just dynamic, yet once everything sort of got exchanged and swapped off at the end, it was still a draw. So it goes to show that both players are quite strong and their skill level is quite even. So
oh yeah, they're very determined. They're getting close to that $20,000 first prize. And you can see the focus and the intensity here for sure, because they know it's going to be a really tough match.
Absolutely. And here we have the most classical line of the Catalan. The amount of times I've just looked at this position is way too many to count. I actually remember prepping this line, this very specific variation for my 2017 World Cup against Natalia Pogonina. So this is still relatively fresh in my mind. One of the few openings I still remember.
Don't confuse that with your 2021 World Cup.
Yes.
Good luck, by the way. That's very exciting.
Thank you. Have you played in the World Cup before?
I have, yes. I played against some of the other competitors in this event, actually. Once I played against Kostanjuk, and once I played against Nana Zagnidze.
Oh, very strong players.
Tough pairings, yeah, very tough.
The round one is always brutal, right? Because of the format. I believe they pair lowest rated with higher rated, and as if it comes down to the middle, then you get like kind of evenish ratings. But if you're lower rated in the lower bracket of things, it gets really rough. So
Yeah, and that's why I'm confused. Your pairing is like a middle versus middle, is that right?
yeah, it's
Yeah.
not, well, it's about 170 point difference.
Yeah, but
um
that's not too bad. Yeah,
yeah,
I
it's
think
not too bad. Definitely not as bad as me playing as Natalia Pagano. No, that was brutal. Yeah.
yeah, my pairings were more like I think 200 points potentially. Yeah.
Mhm.
But that's going to be very exciting. And let's keep an eye on this game. What's going on here? 94 just played by Antonetta Stefanova. So clearly knight takes e5 is not a move that black wants to play, because if once we capture back, that knight on e4 is going to find the very juicy square d6. And it's going to be
Absolutely.
hard to eject it from that square.
Absolutely. And those outposts are exactly what white wants from this position, right? So black just can't take on e5 right now. The knights are looking quite nice in the middle of the board. They're doing the full octopus thing. They're controlling so many squares straight out of the center. So a very nice center for white. And black
Yeah.
just has to find some way to deal with that. However, I do see Tingjie doing the Wi-Fi gambit. Her internet just briefly dipped to 1 bar. Now it's back to 3, but internet is always a slight issue for players playing from China.
Yeah, that's rough. That's rough. 16 squares. I mean, that those knights beautifully occupy. Wow. Double
Mm-hmm.
octopus. Love
Yeah,
it.
the double octopus, exactly. Just controlling everything, guys. Just controlling everything. There's very few squares actually that black can even go to. Like this knight is just totally controlling both the queen's moves, and just not entirely sure what they're able to do, what Team Jet can do in this position. But,
Well, I think a lot of weaker players, to be honest, in a blitz game would play knight takes e5, just trying to get rid of the pressure and just
mm-hmm.
reckon with the consequences as they come. But of course, being such a great player, Tingjie does suffer the consequences. Is you got to do it.
Mm-hmm.
F6, knight c4 played.
Yeah, this is, once again, you don't always want to trade off pieces. You have to really figure out when is the best time to trade off pieces and when is not a good time to trade off pieces. And oftentimes, letting your opponent improve their position when you trade off pieces is not the way to go. So,
And it's really hard in blitz to follow that advice. So it bears repeating.
mm-hmm.
At least black can get a cheapo threat in. I'm looking for knight g6, stunning, knight takes f4.
Yeah, there is potential. There is potential.
Yeah, and what's going on? Hopefully her time is okay now. Yeah, so if knight g6, I guess Antoinetta will probably just move her king. And it's been played
Right.
knight g6 because the king on g2 doesn't look very
Mm-hmm.
attractive. In fact,
And yeah,
yeah,
you want the G file open for your rooks, right?
exactly. So she did play king h1. And now b6, knight e4 played. Now, how does black get counterplay here? Because now our knights look more coordinated. Um, and white's position looks more promising long term, like you mentioned, rook
Mm-hmm.
g1. So I'm trying to see what is black's plan here.
Yeah, I'm not entirely sure, honestly. You probably want to go for a pawn break at some point, maybe with the b5 pawn
Mm-hmm.
break. That's the
Maybe.
one, and I think Tingjie has decided she wants to maybe go for that as well. But even still, it gets really complicated. and
I
and there's also potentially the c5 one, right? Just opening up this diagonal. That's the
Absolutely.
idea
And
of
there
queen
it is.
d7.
There it is,
Right.
c5. If you were to capture, you have to reckon with all the potential ideas like knight takes f4 and f5.
A lot of things happening. I'm not entirely sure what's going on. Maybe there's knight takes c5 here even.
Just play knight takes c5 and allow the discoveries, because
Right,
at
because
the
I
end of the
mean,
day,
yeah, you can always take the queen, right? This looks like these look like favorable traits
because
for
knight takes
white.
e2, you have knight takes d8.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
then everything just kind of gets traded, and then you don't have to take the knight. You can go take the pawn on e6. So that looks pretty decent. Or you can take and just be up the pawn and just move your knight, and everything looks good too. A lot of opportunities here.
Very fascinating position for sure.
So
So
what
let's
has been played was actually knight takes and queen b2, and then knight takes e6.
aha. So the juice remains in the position as the queen stay on the board.
Mm-hmm.
And knight on e6 conveniently protects f4.
I think, yeah, I think Tingjie over-evaluated queen b7.
So knight
c5, yeah.
c3. So what happens on knight c3? Queen c4.
Queen
Gotta
c4.
be good. Yeah.
Yeah,
Wait.
I think there's a smothered mate idea coming up.
Oh, nice.
If I've ever seen one. Oh, sorry, queen. Here, and then knight here probably, and then just go here. And then you got a smothered
Do
mate.
it.
Yeah, do it! I had one chance in my life to make a smothered mate in a blitz game, and I missed it. I'm so sad.
What? I don't believe you've never made a smothered maiden.
I've never made a smothered mate before.
Yeah, we gotta have
Actually.
somebody. We gotta have somebody analyze your blitz games.
Yeah,
I don't believe it.
Smothered mate.
You forgot one.
Maybe,
about one.
maybe. But it is quite possibly the most well-known idea in all of tactics.
By the way, we have Mr. Jingles in the chat pointing out that Stefanova was not only women's world champion from 2004 to 2006, but she also ran for parliament. That's right.
Oh, wow.
I think she's running for office right now, actually.
Oh.
Yeah, yes, that's right. I interviewed her after her last victory, and her campaign slogan is "It's time for a change."
Wow. That's super cool. I had no idea. Chess players are just incredible. I mean, we have you over here doing everything from chess to poker and, running all these very, very, very amazing initiatives. And now I hear Stefanova is running for parliament. That's just incredible.
Yeah. I mean, I think it is a somewhat typical pivot for chess players around the world, I think, to go into politics. There are other examples. I think, well, obviously Gary Kasparov, although now he's more,
right.
More in speaking and human rights advocacy. But yeah, this makes a lot of sense because they get so much attention in their countries for being ambassadors, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Being able to visit all the different countries definitely helps with that. Why not?
What? Wait, what
Why
happened?
not knight g5?
So what would have happened on knight g5, by the way? Knight back to d5 or something? Like, why was that not winning right away? Huh. Okay.
I'm sorry. I'm so incredibly shocked right now.
She must have thought.
But
there's, yeah, that must have been what she thought.
I mean, there's everything working here, right?
Yeah. She must have hallucinated something in this line, though, because it doesn't make any sense.
Right, but actually, after this, what do you play as white?
After knight d5,
maybe queen c6 with the idea of going here because you're attacking the rook as well.
Yeah. That looks really good. Queen c6 looks like a very clever move. And then instead, though, let's see what did happen.
Right. So what actually happened is after king to h8, trying to capture the rook, there is queen b7, which is a fork.
Yes, because of knight e2 check after king g1, right? And then queen h1.
Right. So she just decided to take, and now she's just up a knight.
Because
well, she's just up a knight, yeah. Just quite simply because remember that she sacrificed the knight actually to play queen c4.
Right. Oh dear.
I'm still in shock. I mean, knight, like, you see smother mate, it doesn't matter if it works or not, you go for smother mate,
But knight f3.
Oh god.
Knight f3, and there's a fork. And it looks like Lei Tingjie is going to win her first game of the match. And we are going to a split match, 2-2, as we head into break. Wow. This is going to be a good one, as I think it's going to be tight till the very end.
Yeah, that was definitely a very exciting game. Stefanova was definitely, definitely doing amazingly well, but she just wasn't able to deliver the finishing blow. But that's just for you.
There it is. There it is. You know, you look hard at a move that looks promising, and then you look for
Mhm.
2 seconds at a move, and it turns out to be the wrong one. But a great chess so far. We will be right back with the conclusion of the 5 minute portion here. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Women's Speed Chess Championships presented by FIDE and Chess.com. I am Jennifer Shahadi, and I'm here with Nemo, and we're joining you for some Monday morning chess.
Absolutely. And this will be a very exciting match if you haven't already seen the first half of it. So if you're jumping in now, there's still 45. Well, there's about 40 more minutes on 5+1. So really, really fun stuff.
Yeah, and before the game started, we did our predictions, and we really both had a tough time picking because it is such a tight match. Look at the ratings: Antoinetta Stefanova and Lei Tingjie just 10 points apart. And right now, it is a tied match, 2-2. Could be anyone. Let us know in the chat who you think it's going to be based on the play so far.
Yep. And we're jumping right into the second portion of 5+1. There's still 30 minutes, actually, I stand corrected. Once again, it's this opening. We've seen it happen twice already, I believe. So
that's right. It's a Roy Lopez with an early knight g6, bishop g5, f6. This is similar to what she played in the first game. Now, remember, they did have that short break. So this could be her decision. She thought about it a little bit more on break, and she's applying a new little wrinkle here. As I don't think we've seen this yet in the games.
Yeah, I think this is. I'm liking the fact that despite Stefanova always playing the same variation in the opening, Tingjie is actually trying to mix things up a little bit.
She's trying to maximize. She knows that this is not the best opening against Roy Lopez. Stefanova, I love her creativity, but sometimes she plays things that are more about putting your opponent off balance. Brilliant psychological strategy. But Lei Tingjie is right to try to maximize and figure out what the best line is. I love it.
Yeah, definitely. Try different things, right? Now, usually it's a little bit difficult to try new things when you're playing a match that can potentially be the difference between winning 20K or, 5K or something like that. But I still really respect Tingjie for testing out different stuff. Find what works.
Yeah, it's a very principled idea when your opponent plays something a little off the beaten path. So d5, a move that you love to get to play when you're black in the Lopez. And if you get to play it without any problems, it could mean that your position is just completely recovered. So let's see, what can white do here to try to keep that edge? Because to me, pawn takes d5, knight takes d5 looks like it's going to win one of white's bishops, which I know you do not like.
Yeah, the pair of bishops goes back very, very ingrained from my coach's teachings. But that being said, it's not the end of the world. I think white doesn't really have to deal with the pawn on d5, unless I am mistaken. There's potentially c5. But even still, I think letting black take on e4 is not a big deal because you do have knight takes e4. Yeah.
Right. Good point. And again, we're going back to the same idea that a lot of times the stronger the player, the more likely they are to hold the tension. So
yes,
not just take on d5 automatically, but just let it hold. And there it is, f3 played by Lei Tingjie. Now, of course, that move, the negative of it is that it puts us in a self pin, right?
Yep.
So our knight on d4 now can't move to anywhere except for f5 or c2, because otherwise bishop takes e3 would win.
Absolutely. So want to be very careful in this position. I'm always a little bit cautious of playing f3 when my king is on g1. You just don't want to do this. This is just one of the chess things that you don't want to do. It's like having a rook in front of your queen. You move that queen instantly. Or, if you have a bishop against your king, you move that king instantly. So yeah, this is a little bit risky, but luckily there's nothing much that black can do about.
Well, she's played f5. She's played f5. Very interesting strategical decision. Stefanova was a great strategist, and that's kind of useful for blitz because you can make some kind of very interesting decisions quickly. That it might be difficult. I kind of am liking black now because she has coerced black to play takes on d5, and now knight d5, and black's pieces are hopping into action. Bishop f2 looks like a forced move.
Yeah, I think the main issue here now is that white's king is going to become a little bit weak as black probably starts moving her pieces towards the king side.
Love it. And don't forget knight d3 is also a possible strategic idea. Get one of those bishops, also attack b2. So potentially something else white has to worry about here. Easier to play for black, no doubt. I do love the way that Stefanova is playing this.
Yeah, I really like the fact that she is being, super aggressive this game. Last game, unfortunately, didn't work out very well for her. She just missed one move. She just had one misstep. But that is chess. At the end of the day, you make one mistake and it can be potentially game over. But I'm glad that it didn't take away from her, drive to keep on being super aggressive. That's what you want in blitz, right? Like, it's always easier to be attacking rather than defending.
That's right. That's right. Knight f4, queen g5 coming in. And you see these problems that the pawn on f3 has created because, I guess no matter what, g3 is not an exciting move to play, but now it's creating even more holes. And a king h1 was white's choice. That makes a lot of sense. Try to get the king away from the diagonal so that if we want to move our bishop on f2, we can. Queen g5, threatening checkmate. So what do we do now to stop it?
Well, do we really want to play rook g1? Okay, bishop g3 is...
But knight h4 looks like an exciting move. And
yes.
I think it's a funny move because either knight you take, I play checkmate.
Yeah. Just going back to what Jen was saying, knight to h4, threatening to take on g2. And if you take either of the knights, then you have queen takes g2 checkmate. Not entirely even sure how white responds. Maybe rook to g1. But yeah, it's quite an uncomfortable position for white to be playing. But the idea of knight to e2 obviously is to trade off one of the knights when you are being attacked. Guess what you do, guys? You swap off the attacking pieces because your opponent doesn't have pieces, then he can't attack you. So
yeah,
knight e2 definitely good.
And look at that, knight h5 saying, no, I don't want to trade pieces. A very principled idea. So wait, what was c5? What's the c5 idea? That move confuses me a little bit because our bishop on a7 is now blocked off. But I guess
maybe the knights are a little, like the knight on e2 is a little bit bad. Maybe that's what she was thinking.
And now f4 has been played. Okay. Trying to, I think, force some trades potentially in some lines. And just hit the queen back. So what about queen h6 now?
Well, queen h6 is just, Oh!
It said she's going to try to put her queen on h4, more active square, but then there's knight f3, right? So she's gone back to d8. And now all of a sudden it looks fine for white again.
I was going to say, queen h4 looked fine because even after knight f3, this queen takes f4.
True.
Wasn't too worried about any discover attacks because the queen can always retreat somewhere nice. So queen h4 would have probably been a more active choice. But that being said, Tingjie only has like 30 seconds left on the clock, and we all remember how badly that went for her in the first round. So I'm definitely a bit worried about her time usage in this game.
Yeah, it's hard. This line that Antoinetta has chosen might not be the best line in the history of chess, but it's causing her opponent to think. And so, that is a very, very good blitz chess.
Yeah, make your opponent think in general is a very good thing to do, even if it's not in blitz, guys. Make sure you're giving your opponent a little bit of issue so that they have to think. Otherwise, it's too easy for them to play, right? Definitely an amazing strategy, but very well thought out by Stefanova. Playing something a little bit offbeat is not something you do only in like a blitz match. It's something you do as well in classical games. Just hoping your opponent doesn't know perfect theory because you run into that a lot.
Yeah, totally. I was thinking there takes on c4, rook d8,
Mm,
takes on b3, but you
right.
had rook takes f8 check at the end.
Yes.
Okay, so instead we
Oh
have this
no.
position. Oh, c4. What's the deal here? Bishop a2. Okay, white's pieces are horrible
Very
now.
awkward.
Oh
Yeah.
gosh. And knight takes f4 is on tap as well. Uh-oh, this looks very dangerous, but we got to look out for knight takes b5 because we don't want you to fix all of your problems. So the first
Yeah.
thing Antoinette is going to do is make sure that knight takes b5 is off menu.
You know the old saying, "Knights on the rim are dim." So the bishop's now also on the rim, and bishop on the rim can be good. For example, this one on a7, where it has an open diagonal, but the one on a2 is significantly less happy because it's eyeing a pawn.
So what would have been the best way to shut things down? Because I didn't like allowing knight takes b5, but
I was
whatever.
thinking just queen c5, really,
Yeah,
just not letting white take, but
letting
maybe she
those,
thinks this is better.
I
Yeah.
mean, letting the pieces stew in their own
Mm-hmm.
misery. But hey, this looks pretty good for black too. And again, 10 seconds left, under 10 seconds rather. That
Mm-hmm.
is difficult. Rook b3, nice little outpost square for the rook. Queen e2, always got to watch for knight f4, but now knight f4 would allow rook takes f4, queen takes f4, queen takes e6.
Yep.
So
Don't want
she's
to let that happen.
tactically protecting herself here. I don't know, maybe like the bishop could just move to like g8 or something, just tuck itself away, maybe.
I think this is definitely possible. I think something that white has to be extremely careful about, though, it's rook to b2 and ideas along this diagonal. So what I was actually thinking is maybe you want to play bishop c8, then go rook b2 and bishop to b7 in order to just bully the g2
Good
pawn.
point. That's a good point that the bishop on c8 is able potentially. Oh wait, what happened though? Knight f4.
Knight takes f4 happened, and now it's a little bit less clear because white definitely has chances again. That being
That's
said,
right.
just don't let checkmate happen. Oh, and we're probably gonna see knight h5, just trying to make it
Okay,
complicated,
rook takes
but
b1 though.
yeah, this will unfortunately not
Yes.
work.
And there it is. Stefanova regains the lead. And I like how whenever she wins, she kind of leans back in her chair. She
Mm-hmm.
doesn't show a lot of emotion, but you can see that recognition. I did it. I won that game. And here she is, d4, as we get into like one of the last games here, the 5-1. Maybe this we'll have two more,
Mm-hmm.
potentially three more. It depends. Nice game, says Justin 132. I agree. Very
Yeah.
well played.
So far, the games have been of absolutely high quality. Stefanova has shown extremely good usage in time. I think that's what's really getting her the wins in these positions because Tingjie is playing well, but playing unfortunately a little bit too slow, and she just doesn't give herself enough time in these more complicated middle game positions to really be able to figure out all the tactics and all that.
Still a
So,
very tight match. And these speed chess matches are so much about the faster time controls.
mhm.
So we'll just see. I'm really curious to see who's gonna be ahead on like the bullet in the 3-minute sections.
Mm-hmm.
Queen a3 played here. So this is still theory, right?
Yep.
Yeah, I'm familiar. So queen a3, by the way, if you take on d4, that queen on d6 is hanging. So it's pinning the piece on c5 rather. Okay, so b6 bolstering the c5 point.
Yep. This is some London stuff that I'm actually not super familiar with, but probably something else I need to add into my arsenal because I absolutely dislike playing against the London.
Yeah, me too. Me too. Especially when like I prefer it if we get to play for the e5 square a little bit more, having this
Mhm.
d5 e6 structure in.
Yeah.
It's a little less juicy, isn't it?
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
we'll see. We'll see. Great players are good at making positions juicy.
Yeah, this is very true. At least they have that going for them. When I play the London, I'm just there like, okay, well, I'll probably be falling asleep in about 30 minutes and there's not much else I can do about it, but this is I would say the bishop takes d6 line is not the most aggressive line for white, because when your queen is all the way over here on the queen side, you don't have a lot of potential for king side attacks. Not taking on d6 gives you a little bit more chance, because then you don't have to bring your queen out and all of that stuff as well.
So
So
knight d7 repinning that. Okay, and now what if we were to play something like knight b3 here, trying to like gang up on that c5 pawn?
right, knight b3 could be potentially interesting. I like knight f3, just trying to hold two knights together. This is always good.
Knight b3 is very artificial. Like from a strategic point of view, the knight has
Right.
nothing to do there. Knight f3 makes much more sense from a strategic point of view. And let's see though, we've got a case of knight versus bishop, and I can't help but vote for the knight here, as the position is very close. Not a single pawn has been traded, but f6 does shut the knight out of its glory square. So what do you think? How big of an edge do you feel like white has here, if any?
I honestly think it's a very equal position, because one of the main ideas of a London is to actually push e4 at some point in order to open up the position. And without a light square bishop or a bishop, without a light square bishop or the two knights, it's very difficult to get this e4 pawn pushed up. So that definitely takes a little bit away from white's potential to make an edge in this position, because now the position is just kind of closed, right?
Yeah, it is closed. And normally that would really favor the knight, but the knight doesn't have any beautiful anchor squares, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that is well done by black. And that shows that every position is all about the specifics. Because normally,
Absolutely.
if you just look at knight versus bishop in such a close scenario, you would go for the knight. But
Mm-hmm.
yeah, the more you look at it, the more it's like you could give white 8 moves, and the knight doesn't really have any amazing pastures.
Yeah, exactly. And it's kind of like, this is something that Danya actually taught me. If the knight, if you can't make something happen in 4 moves, then is there really a threat, you know? And this knight just doesn't have anywhere to go in 4 moves. So definitely a bit out of the game currently.
Yeah, it's like pretty interesting. A5, just late Tingjie just kind of making some nice little space gaining moves. Queen e2, definitely a maneuvering battle going on here.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Will black really try to expand here and get b5, b4 in? Of course, she's always
I
got to watch c5.
Yeah, I think so. I think she will. Making sure c5 doesn't drop with the bishop b7. Unfortunately, that also means he can't play b5 because queen takes b5. So maybe she's trying to play on both sides of the board, and I like this a lot. Maybe some e5 ideas. Not entirely sure. I don't see it quite yet, but I'm sure Tingjie has something up her sleeve.
That's right, but Stefanova as well. And, the knight on h2, knight g4, there's no real threat. But one thing is, no matter what pawn push black makes, it easily could improve the position of the knight on h2. So you got to be careful. Even this one g6 gives knight g4 a lot more punch than it had before.
Absolutely, absolutely.
And
And yeah, I mean, I was just gonna say the queen has been quite literally on every square. It traveled all the way to the queen side, and then now it's on the king side. So this queen is doing a lot.
yeah, I'd like to see a little graph of the queen. That's right. How was it on a3 like 8 moves ago?
Yeah, it was on a3 8 moves ago. Now it's all the way on h4.
And there she goes. G4. Doesn't look like she wants to draw in this position. G5. Love it. She is
Ooh.
wrenching that E5 square. We keep talking about how we don't have any good squares for the knight, and now it's on E5. What?
Yeah.
This
Well,
is great for white now.
yeah, this is
Great for
amazing.
white
Now this is actually the classical good knight versus bad bishop scenario.
I don't know like how black could have dealt with that prophylactically. There must have been some way,
Mhm.
but now Stefanov got what she wants.
Yeah, I was thinking maybe this entire idea with rook to f7 was potentially just not the most accurate, right? Because
Yeah,
realistically, how are you going to break through along the f file?
exactly. It just seems like maneuvering, which is fine. But then also, I really didn't like G6. I feel like if we
Yeah,
could have avoided playing G6, because imagine if Stefanova had played for G5 without G6, it wouldn't be as scary because we could
exactly.
have the option of playing King H8. and letting you take on f6, right?
Absolutely. But in this position now, I mean, White just seems like she has full control of the position. Black is just trying to hold on to the g6 pawn. If the bishop ever moves away, guys, the h pawn is pinned, so there will be knight takes g6.
This is great positional play from Stefanova.
Mm-hmm.
And ahead of the clock as usual as well. She's played rook to f3, looking to increase the pressure.
Everything just working out really well in her favor right now. Wonder what's going to happen here, actually. I mean, just queen to e4, trying to keep the queen active, but it's such a painful position to play as Black. You're just permanently defending. I mean, this bishop is stuck.
Yeah, it's
just stuck.
It's terrible, and she's down on time to boot. So, a miracle in order here. As you can't really move anything. I mean, you can't move either rook, because if you move the f6 rook, there's knight g6. If you move the f8 rook, there's queen takes f6. Very, very bad position. And now queen h6. Now you have to look at knight g6 regardless, because we've got some action, some double pins, right? We're pinning the pawn on h7,
and then this rook on f6 is overloaded, so that's why rook to g8 actually had to happen.
Right. So knight g6 was a real threat, and now rook g8 does stop it. So credit for Tingjie for keeping the game going by seeing the threats. Let's see, but what about the basic rook g4 to rook h4? Little
yeah, rook g4 to h4 might have been interesting, but I think Antonetta is going to quite literally force a way through this position. h5 looks very interesting here. There's no queen takes, because after g takes, there's rook takes g8.
Check and mate.
Check and mate. Exactly. I mean, okay, so h5 was not played, but I would have been really curious to see that move. It's a little bit difficult to make in a blitz game, I believe, just because it's very committal. So you probably want to play something a little less committing. And, you know, Tingjie has 15 seconds on the clock, and she so far has not shown great skills under time pressure. So that's a little bit worrying.
It's worrying also for the 3-minute portion of the match. As look at that beautiful rook on b7, and the knight remains beautiful on e5. See, this is the problems that even if you do achieve the queen trade, which stopped mate threats, there are mate threats anyway, just with the 2 rooks. So a very, very tough position here. Now rook c8 comes into the game, and you can't stop me from winning your piece.
Yep. There we go. The
good bishop versus the good knight. I mean, the good knight versus the good bishop is good knight versus zero bishop. And
zero bishop, absolutely.
And now we have our last game, probably, of the 5-minute portion, as Antonetta Stefanova takes her biggest lead of the match so far, 4-2.
Yes, I think that Tingjie is not super familiar with faster time controls. And that will prove to be an issue as well in the 3+1 and 1+1 portions. I mean, Stefanova is up 2 points currently, so this will probably be the last game of the 5+1 portion, as we only have 8 minutes left in this portion. So,
but you never know. I mean, as GM Knight V12 in the chat is saying, Tingjie played very fast against Vishali. Sometimes players, once they get to the faster time controls, they kind of switch goes
gears
off.
Right.
Yeah. And so she might just start to go super quickly and get some time edges. So we'll see.
Yeah, I agree. It's funny because I used to always get in time trouble in classical games, and now my best time control is definitely bullet. So
you are definitely not the only one who's like that, right? I mean, there's Alexander Grishuk, who's one of the best blitz players in the world.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So yeah, that's a bizarre. That is funny though, how some really really good bullet players get into time pressure.
Yeah,
Like
exactly.
how
It's
is
like I want to play bullet. Give me the 90 plus 30-minute portion, but in bullet, like let me just do 1 minute. So it's always a little bit unpredictable at the end of the day. I mean, this is just the Coley system. Coley system is not an entirely, I would say, like good opening for white, but then again, it is blitz, so who really cares about whether or not the opening is entirely accurate? But I mean, the issue with playing the Coley, right, is like you let your opponent's bishop come out, and that means you're also they don't have a bad light squared bishop, and then all of a sudden you played b3 to let your bishop come to b2, but you couldn't play bishop to b2 in this position. You had to play bishop d2 because after bishop b3, there's knight to e4,
that's
and it
right.
gets super uncomfortable here for white.
And I can see why you're not that excited about White's position because the bishops on e2 and d2 are a
Yeah.
far cry from the ones that you were
Mm-hmm.
flattering earlier on g2 and b2, just sweeping the board.
Absolutely. I mean, I played the Coley actually as white a couple of years back. It's the only d4 opening I've ever played, and I mean the reason I gave it up is because if black knows more or less what to do, you just don't really get an advantage out of it. But it's definitely
Yeah.
playable.
And
Um,
look at how instructive it is that Antoinetta, as soon as she could, she played for this
mhm.
movie five. When White releases the pressure and plays moves like c4, c5, and b4, trying to play squarely on the queen side, Black needs to hit back in the center to get her own counterplay.
Mhm. Yeah. And you might be like, oh, b5, c5. Well, white has a lot of space. And you would be right. But any flank attack is met with a counter attack in the center. And that's exactly what Stefanova is doing. She's following these principles of chess really, really, really well because, if the center is destroyed, then what's the point of having pawns pushed up high, right? So, yeah,
So
Stefanova is looking good.
Queen b3. Okay. That makes me a little nervous because of all these pieces
Mm-hmm.
hanging, but okay. Pawn takes, bishop f6. Now you got to watch out on d4. So knight f3 was played.
Pair
Um,
bishops.
yeah. That's right. Rook e8, kind of keeping in. This is so instructive, kind of trying to keep the center of the theater in the middle of the board as white has expanded on the queen side.
Mm,
Absolute classic.
yeah. Once again, just a little bit passive of position for white. There is not much going on the queen side. Maybe you can try b takes c6 at some point and hope the a6 pawn is a little bit weaker. That could be one of white's potential ideas, but still a little bit difficult for white to play.
Now, if I'm black, I'd really like to improve my knight on d7. I know it's slow, but the idea of knight f8 to
Mm-hmm.
g6 or e6 would certainly come to my mind.
Definitely a lot of ideas here.
And how I have to say that idea looks even more attractive after the move h3
Yeah,
because knight on f4 is already a great piece, but when there's a pawn on h3, it's even better.
a lot of weak squares that Tingjie is gonna have soon. And also additionally, it's just very uncomfortable. I mean, this bishop takes f3. I was gonna just say, but this bishop takes f3 work now because after rook takes e1, you got bishop takes d4, and this looks like a free pawn.
And 1-1 falls, more may fall behind as c5 is hanging. White, probably wants to try something like rook e7, go for active counterplay. But I
Mm-hmm.
think queen d8 will just shut us out.
Right,
That's the
absolutely.
problem. So instead, she's taken
Oof.
on a6. Okay, what's the idea here? Let's see. Oh, now rook e queen d. Oh, say queen b7 maybe.
I would have liked rook takes a6 because then you keep your pawn chain and additionally just create pressure on e4. That would have been probably something I would have preferred,
Yeah,
but this works well too.
she was probably somewhat worried about rook e8 check, but I think knight f8 would have been sufficient.
Mm-hmm.
And now wait, did black's up two pawns or one? Just one. No, two,
Two,
right?
yeah, black is up
Two.
2 pawns. It's quite uncomfortable for Tingjie
Yes.
now. That's a very big material
Good
advantage.
thing we have the math whiz with us on Monday morning.
Yes.
Gotta count
Absolutely.
those 2 pawns.
Always
All
takes
right.
a little bit of time to warm up in the morning, guys.
Well,
Yep.
we did get to that F4 square, although white has bigger problems now.
Hmm. Oh dear. Okay, this is not looking very good for Tingjie, unfortunately. She's trying to get back that c6 pawn, which she might actually be able to do so because it doesn't look like black has a way to defend it.
Well, I could try just like tactically defending it with like rook e8 and then
Hmm.
queen c6 would allow rook e1 check.
Right, right. This
And
is a familiar tactic. So if you take the rook, then you drop the queen, and if king to h2, then there's rook takes c1. Fun tactic stuff.
so white will have to play something like king h2 here, although
Hmm.
that puts you in a self pin, and h5 might just win.
Right, right.
So rook e8 was a really tough move to me. Knight f5 played, probably the best considering the options.
Yeah, just trying to get a little bit more active. I think is super important as well. Make things a little bit more complicated is probably Tingjie's best hope at this point. But even still, I mean, 2 pawns is 2 pawns. Yeah.
Yep.
Hmm.
2 pawns is really tough to defend against, especially now that rook e6 is always an option if
Oof,
you
that knight.
can't figure out how to tactically defend.
Mhm.
So yeah, the knight it's kicked back, and you got a nice grip on the position does Stefanova, because that knight on f4 is going nowhere.
Absolutely. I mean, this is just pain. This is quite literally just pain for Tingjie to play. Right, defending that c6 pawn now. Probably, as long as the Stefanova is able to keep everything secure, trading off all the pieces, it works in such good favor for black here as well.
Okay, so knight to e3 introduces a threat of knight d5, so that is why queen a7 was played.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
She's trying to fight is Letitia, because this is going to be tough. 5-2 if Stefanova does win this game, as the clock is out in the 5-minute
Mm-hmm.
portion. No more games in
Yep.
this format.
Yep.
Bishop g5 threatening knight takes h3 check, winning it all. What are you going to do? You got to keep at least protection
Gotta
on
move
the
that
one rook.
queen, but I mean, queen c2 probably only square.
Yeah, it looks absolutely terrible.
There's
Knight e2 check.
92, right? Because after bishop e2, you can still take, and after queen takes, there's rook takes e2.
It's still
However, I
winning.
mean, yeah, I mean, there's not even queen h6 or something because of rook e1,
And
and
yeah,
if knight to f6, then you can still have king g7 and stuff. So,
true, exactly. So this knight e2 check looks like a winner.
or knight takes h3. All right, that's
Oh,
very
nice
interesting.
one.
Yeah.
Nice one, because she doesn't even have to calculate any of those knight f6 ideas
Mm-hmm.
anymore, because we keep control of the dark squares. Very
Yep.
well done.
All right. And she gets the material back immediately. And now h3 is going to drop. You're facing rook e1 if this rook ever moves off of the back rank. Just everything here. Yeah, everything here. So very, very, very well played by Stefanova. She's so strategic, and seems like her attacks are also perfectly working out.
Yeah, I think her psychology is really good as well. She is trying to avoid when she can win without calculating, she avoids it, which is
Mm-hmm.
something we spoke about early in the match.
Yeah, absolutely. You don't need to take risks sometimes. You can just let it happen. That's totally fine too.
And
Absolutely.
now rook e4, piling up the pressure on g4. F3 would open up just yet another avenue on the king and allow rook g4 and bishop e3.
Mm-hmm.
Checkmate. So f3 is not on the board. And in fact,
And Tingjie has resigned. This position is way too painful for her to play, I think.
it was too painful. Rook e3 was coming one way or the other. And that means that we are going to go to 3 minute with a 1 second increment in just a few minutes, guys. So fasten your seatbelts as we'll be back to see if Lei Tingjie can get back in the match.
All right, guys, and we are back. But before we dive straight into the games, we do have the World Championship coming up in November, to which chess.com has the exclusive video rights. So that's going to be super, super, super exciting. I hope everybody stays hyped for the match in November. But we do still have some very exciting games from today. Tingjie and Stefanova both going to be extremely, extremely, they're both just playing very well. And I'm just excited to see how the 3+1 portion is going to go. How are you feeling about this, Jen?
I think the match is going to get a little closer. Stefanov has been playing fantastically, great strategy, great handling of the clock. The only portion where you could say that she's not completely outdoing her opponent, I would say, is in the tactics. Like she's missing some and she's also executing some. So maybe when the time control gets faster, that will become a bigger factor and we'll get a slightly closer match. That would certainly be good for the spectators. And I don't know. We'll see if it happens. We've got another London for right now.
Yeah, I think it's something that's really interesting is that although Tingjie seems to be really good at tactics, she's not going for super aggressive, kind of gameplay, which would probably suit her a little bit more than this slower strategic style that I think benefits Stefanova, quite honestly. So that's like an interesting disparity in her gameplay, in my opinion.
Yeah, as we do see this London. That said, I mean, the London, it's not that easy to make it super, super slash and kill. So we'll see. I do think that Lei Tingjie is determined to play quickly. I get that vibe from her just out of the gate. And of course, as soon as I say that, she thinks for more than 10 seconds.
Yeah, it's the Coster's curse, it's always the Coster's curse. Every time you say something, and then you do the exact opposite of it, and you're like, huh, well, maybe I shouldn't have quite said that, but.
Yeah, but there she goes. She plays Queen B6, typical London move, because the bishop has went out to play. So, hey, let's attack the pawn that it's usually traditionally defending.
Yeah.
As Antoinette quickly plays rook to b1. And now I can't help but wonder e5. I'm like ready to just go for it and play like bishop f5, hit that. Oh, look at this.
H5.
Speaking of going for it, h5.
Okay, and g5.
g5.
I love it.
Play in the 3-minute portion.
I really love it. Yeah.
You love it. You love it because of the match score or because of the position?
I like it because it's how I think Tingjie should be playing. It's got that Alpha Zero vibe to it. It's the getting space, attacking, and all that. So, I always like things like H5 and G5. It's a very cool thing to do, especially in Blitz where you can be forgiven for structural weaknesses like H5 and G5 and G4 a little bit more than in classical. In classical, you could never, ever, ever do this.
But look at this. She's castle queenside, but that bishop on G3 is already slicing the position. So
yeah, I would have just not castled, honestly. I would have just kept my key on E8. I think this is a little bit too optimistic.
letting her know the king's address, that's for sure. A4. Yeah. These moves are not hard for Antoinette to play, guys. I mean, these are ready moves to play. And the thing about rook f8 is that she's actually already in need of a square for her queen. Because if that rook was on d8, a5 would literally trap the queen.
Yeah, it would be quite funny if the queen didn't have a retreating square to d8. But the problem with f5 is, as you can see, the bishop is able to come to f4, and all of a sudden you no longer have your idea of playing, well, f4, right? So that was the main idea. Oh no, the eval bar really didn't like that move.
Why not? Is there something with a5 and b5 right out the gate? No, queen e2 is just played bishop f7. Okay.
Maybe there's b5, queen e5, and then queen b8.
Oh, I'm
is
scared.
what I'm looking at right now. I mean, okay, I like the enthusiasm of h5 and g5, g4, but you also have to remember that your opponent can also push her pawns up too, right? So Once again, I'm gonna go back to saying I like b5, queen d5, queen e5 a little bit more.
That looks
But
really good. But hey, we can do it here
we still do
too.
it here. Yeah, I was gonna say it doesn't.
Oh God, that's just
Still possible.
crushing. I mean, that's the problem with playing at h5 and g5, that
Mm-hmm.
your king's address is scary. So you obviously can't go king side. You can't go queen side. Nemo mentioned earlier, just keep it in the center,
Yep.
as that definitely seems preferable to what's happening now, guys.
Yep. Once again, your king is only weak if it can be attacked. So if your king is like on e4 and it still can't be attacked, hey, your king is safe. You know, like nothing against that. You don't always have to follow typical chess principles. So yeah.
Yeah, queen e5, there it is. Beautiful move spotted by you a little while ago. King d7, so avoiding queen b8 check, followed by queen takes a7, all with checks. But
Mm-hmm.
there it is again, Antoinetta with her strategic principles. You put your king on d7, instantly playing c4, to highlight the weakness of the king in the middle of the board.
Yep. I think it's actually really important to note that we're actually not using an engine today, so everything we are saying is coming off of our minds. But that just goes to show how simple this attack can really be, right? Like, you know, you just sort of push all of your pawns up at your opponent. You try to checkmate your opponent's king, and it's quite literally my favorite strategy of just winning. I always have this line that I say on stream: all you got to do in chess is just win. So, you know, the best way to do it is to checkmate your opponent, and that's what we're going for in this position.
There we go. Well, look at this. Lei Tingjie, by the way, defending admirably. I think my king would have been checkmated by now.
Yeah, I
Like,
think
what?
so. Yeah, I mean, Tingjie is holding on, you know? Yes, yes.
And then bishop e8, as Antoinetta tries to just take on a7, but the eval really didn't like that move. Why not? Bishop a7. They seem smart, but is there just like a king c7 or bishop d4?
I think maybe
Bishop
king c7
d4.
is just trapping. Oh, but then there's rook c1, maybe.
Yeah, so maybe bishop d4, rook d1, e5.
You
Hold
know
on.
what's interesting? Maybe king c7, rook c1, you take on d4, and since there's no really strong discover attack, you just play bishop c5. Oh no, she didn't think of that.
She's played
No.
bishop d8, but look at that beautiful pass
I mean, this
pawn.
pawn is just too strong. I think I really like king c7, as I was gonna go back a little bit. I was thinking maybe king c7 because, but this is probably still lost
Maybe
somehow.
what about just bishop d4? Was there rook d1, e5,
Oh,
bishop
that's
d6?
true. Yeah, maybe
Yeah.
there's bishop d4 straight away. Didn't have to trade off that dark squared bishop there.
But either way, this still isn't easy peasy for Antoinetta because she only has 18 seconds left. Remember, we're in the game 3. We're in the 3 minute plus 1 second. So everything is accelerated. And Lei Tingjie has gotten her king to b8 to stop immediate wins with the pawn. And now it's about technique. And technique at 10 seconds, it's, don't care how good you are. Technique at 10 seconds is not going to be that great, right?
Yeah, I mean, this is just gonna be so quick. It's just one of those things where it's like, oh man, that a pawn is just so killing. I don't think it matters too much. Oh
Hey, rook
wait,
b3, rook b3.
no.
No,
The
skewers.
tactics. Speaking of tactics, you know, speaking of technique, this is exactly what we were talking about. Stefanova's tactics has definitely not been as good as
And
Tingjie's.
skewers. By the way, both of the blunders that Antoinette made were both skewers.
I'm not. Oh, we can just promote this pawn too. That's really
Remember,
smart.
remember, her other blunder was queen d4, allowing bishop f6.
Yeah, yeah.
So
Oh no, I think Stefanova has realized that she lost this game. Oh no, you can see from her facial expression, she is
not happy.
Yeah, she's
Now,
not happy about this at all.
now, isn't that funny though that she's maybe made 3 blunders, right? 2
Yeah,
skewers.
yeah.
Do you think that is just a coincidence, or do you think there are some tactics that great players kind of like will miss? And of course, on chess.com, they have like a feature that lets you look at your puzzles and see which tactics you most normally miss.
I always miss the checkmate once because I always
Checkmate
think
in
it's
one.
way more complicated than it is, and then I'm like, oh, it was just taking this or checkmating or something like that. I'm then like figuring out, do I need to sacrifice my knight or my bishop? It's like nope, it's just take the queen or checkmate in one. So sometimes
I,
the simplest tactics is really what gets you.
yeah, because it's just that frontal attack. And there we
Yeah.
go. We've got a match 5-3. Tie break.
Yep, this is fun. It's fun. I mean,
That was
Stefanova is
frustrating
playing
though.
so yeah, she played so well. I feel so bad for her.
Yeah, because also like if you miss a skewer and you're up so much, you would think maybe there would be a way for her to draw, but
Mm,
no, this blunder was for the whole point, not half a point.
exactly. Exactly. Oh man. Well, I mean, Tingjie did win one game, so that does keep the difference between their scores 3-5, so 2 points. So maybe she still has a shot at this 3+1 portion. I mean, so far it's looking like Stefanova has had the better position in this position as well. But at the end of the day, you have to play chess super accurately all the way until the end, right? Just because you have an advantage for the first 30 moves or so does not necessarily mean you'll get the win. You have to keep that advantage for the entirety of the game. And that's really difficult. That's super difficult.
Oh yeah, we were talking about it before, how chess is such a punitive game. It's all about not
Mm-hmm.
blundering. And that is a lot easier said than done, right? Especially in blitz.
Mm-hmm.
And Stefanova looks mad, but she's playing
Yeah.
great. So, that's what great players do. They tend to play even better when they're angry.
Absolutely, absolutely. I mean, these both of these players are super, super professional. They're very experienced. So I think one blunder, one loss isn't going to affect their gameplay for the long run. And now, honestly, speaking of that, it's she has the advantage in this position. Yeah.
You think she has the advantage after d5? Like, sure, if I took, because your knight would be really powerful, but wait, why can't I just take on e3? What happens there?
Right. Exactly. So I think
Yeah.
Stefanova is going into a not much better, a slightly better endgame because she will be up a pawn after rook takes e3. Okay, well that was not captured. Not entirely too sure why. I think it comes down to the tactics thing we were talking about a little bit before. She's missed a few tactics already in this matchup, so.
Oh, yeah, she's playing great on the clock, really good strategically, but
Mm-hmm.
there's sometimes those little tactical misses, which are even harder to deal with when
Yeah,
time control is now 3-1, right?
absolutely.
But bishop b8, great move because she's now seen that the theater is more important on h2. So
Yep,
queen e5 is going to be a stunning queen.
absolutely, absolutely. Once again, tactics is probably the one weakness I would say Stefanova has. She doesn't have a lot of other, you know, weaknesses. So Tingjie is definitely still in for a very, very, very difficult fight.
Yeah.
And yeah.
And part of Stefanova's strategy is to play around the tactics a little bit to
Mm-hmm.
try to get like a more of a strategic position where she can outplay her opponent and just, reel it in. We've seen that again and again in the wins that she scored. So,
Absolutely.
okay, well played by Tingjie, doubling the rooks. And now I don't remember why the queen didn't get to e5. I really wanted to get her there. But
Yeah. I
I
think
think
something that's interesting is I think Tingjie was going for I was going to say queen g4 and then trying to create a discover attack, but I'm not entirely sure how it's going to work out for her. Haven't seen anything yet.
yeah, that's a really interesting idea because the thing is like if knight takes f6, rook takes d2 might be a move, right? And then knight
Mm-hmm.
e8, rook d1. So yeah, this is still very juicy for both sides.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, queen g6 offering the queen trade. And now which minor piece is better, Nemo? The bishop or the knight?
Honestly, very difficult to even guess that. I would say I prefer the knight. It's doing the octopus thing, but then at the same time, the bishop is like covering a lot of dark
Key
squares,
squares.
right? Yeah, key squares.
And it's unassailable, right? The
True, yeah.
d25 can
But
never be
then the
attacked by a
same goes for
pawn.
the knight.
True, true. Yeah, we're used to seeing that for the knight. And I agree. I mean, I think there's a lot of balance in this position. Knight e3 is not the most exciting move though, because rook
Yeah.
d3 is on tap. Although at the moment, rook d7 check would need to be reckoned with.
Hmm.
So this is now what Antoinette is considering, and she just plays rook c7. I think she'd be content with a draw in this game to kind of forget the game
Yeah,
before
last
this.
game, yeah. But there is
Yeah.
an isolated pawn e4 now. Everything has been traded off, so it matters significantly less. But after rook d2, just not letting your opponent's rook come to the second rank, sorry. Ooh, that e pawn might potentially drop.
Yeah, this is great. I mean, this is great to see Antoinette go for a win. Rook c3, cutting the king off, and now
Mm-hmm.
king e5 is something to always be reckoned with. But again, king e5 allows rook d7. So it's not like we just win the pawn easy peasy. There's always counterplay in rook games, which one is the reasons why people say they're notoriously drawish, because if your opponent goes after something, you can go after something else, right?
Right. But the interesting thing is also, I think Tingjie played last few moves a little too passively, and now she's just waiting around for Black to just slowly improve her position and hope that Black doesn't have a winning sort of plan in this position.
That's right. What Antoinette is doing, by the way, is getting the pawns away from the seventh rank. Because if
Mhm.
she advances all the pawns and then plays king e5, hey, all of a sudden,
You
maybe
don't
you've
have
got,
rook d7, right? You don't have rook
yeah,
d7.
yeah, exactly. So this is instructive the way that Antoinette is playing for a win here.
Yeah, I was always wondering if rook c2 works because then you're forced to play rook d2.
Mm-hmm.
But I think after captures, king captures, there's probably still, you know, it's probably still a draw, all things considered.
And this happened. Yeah, this did happen. So Antoinetta doesn't have a lot of time to calculate rook takes d2, king e5, but she sees it looks like a
Mm-hmm.
draw. And there it is. Antoinetta tried her best to make a draw. I mean, to make a win out of this, to squeeze it out. But she did only get a draw, a well-played game to recover from, and an unfortunate
Mm-hmm.
blunder. And well, she hasn't forgotten about it yet, but it's a little bit more in the
Yep.
past now.
Yep. It's a good thing, actually, sometimes just take a draw after, especially a very painful loss. Just get your mind a little bit, back into the groove of things, not tilt. Just play very objective chess.
It's tough with these speed chess championships because usually the players don't remember a lot of specific games
Mm-hmm.
because there's so many games. But I
Right.
think that after the match, even if she wins, Stefanova will remember that one.
Yeah, I think that skewer, the last two skewers especially, have been super painful. I mean, that and the fork, So the diagonals definitely seem to be her weakness in these shorter time controls.
Yeah, well, the diagonals, they're trickier than the straight lines, right? That's
Yeah,
like a human
absolutely.
thing. We're trained to look straight in front of us. That's why my
Mm.
4 year old, his favorite piece is the rook, because he
Oh,
says,
really?
because I move in straight lines.
Aw, that is so wholesome. That is super wholesome. I think when I was 4, my favorite piece was the knight because I really liked yeah, I just really like the shape of the knight, honestly. I hadn't even thought that far of moving in straight lines. But I guess with the general way my life is going, it's moving in more of a L shape.
You learned at 4 or 3?
I started chess at 3. Mm-hmm.
Great. But do you have memories of playing chess at 3, or that's too long ago?
I actually remember perfectly well. Yeah, I have very good memory, unfortunately, for the most part, I think. So I remember everything. Oh man, there are definitely a lot of games that, yeah. I mean, I don't remember specific things like every single game, but I remember a lot of like tournaments. I remember the time I made 2 illegal moves in the same tournament. I remember, yeah, I just remember a lot of
Wow, you made
stuff.
2 illegal moves in the same tournament. But you were three
Yes.
years old, so we'll forgive
Well,
you.
I was that tournament. I was 5. Yeah, that tournament I was 5. But
Oh, there's no excuse then.
yeah, no excuse then. Absolutely not.
So Queen B1 here. I mean, who do you like? This one looks rather balanced to me. S6 played knight g4, hitting the knight on g5 out. Now, the cool thing about black's knight is that it can't be attacked, right? It's an outpost.
I mean, if you take it, they were still d takes c4, so.
White's looking a little passive, I have to say. It seems like black's been, taking the initiative here. Just from a visual point of view, it's got to be a little easier to play for black now. Knight f2. Looking to force a trade here, huh? That's good.
Yeah, this is just one of those things where it's like pieces are going to get swapped off. It's a London in which there was not a lot of fuel, so we're just going to see a pretty slow endgame.
Yeah, good likelihood of another draw. Somebody asked me what my favorite piece is. Well, I have to say the queen, because she's like a historical time capsule, the way that it used to be the weakest piece on the board. And then when she became the most powerful, chess got better.
Yeah.
Like give a woman some power and the world gets better.
I love it. Honestly. It's really interesting actually, because in like shogi and stuff, right? There's not exactly a queen. It's the same concept, but it doesn't move like a queen. It's still kind of in the same way as chaturanga used to be played, where the queen could only move one square, or at least it didn't have as much range as it does currently. So history of chess is very interesting. History of like just general board games is very interesting.
I agree. I mean, it is fascinating. Have you ever played chaturanga on chess.com?
I have actually never played. Have you?
Yeah, I have. It's hard.
Okay.
It's interesting because, the knights and the rooks are so strong when the queen can only move one square diagonally. But it's a slow game. Because,
Absolutely.
it obviously takes a long time. Durian Defense says, when was the queen ever weak? That was like around 600, 500 years ago.
Yeah. I think it was actually a little bit longer than that, I think it was like 1200, 800 years ago or something like that. A little bit longer ago. So.
Well, I think late 1400s was when she got
late 1400s.
Was when she got her.
She got her buff.
Yeah. Went to the gym.
Yeah. So, and yeah,
they don't have an exact date for these things. It's all like circa. So bishop e2, the position's got a lot more interesting, by the way. I mean, because white has tried, lashing out with her pawn. I mean, I like black all of a sudden because it doesn't seem like the pawn on g5 is gaining as much. But black's got control of a lot of juicy squares now. This is the problem. Queen h5.
This king is so weak.
Yeah, we can't move the knight because then queen takes g5. And queen g4 check is annoying. Oh, this is looking good. I mean, the only problem is that bishop on b7, right? But maybe we can just win with our rook, queen, and knight.
I think if you just move every single piece over, there's only so much white can do to defend when your king doesn't have a castle anymore. I make this joke every single time I cast, and like when the pawns move away from the king, I say it goes from a castle to a barn.
A castle to a barn. Okay.
Yeah, so now it's a barn.
Well, it worked out for Antoinette that one game where she had the beautiful knight on e5, right? But this is so different. She doesn't have control, and look at how Lei Tingjie has played rook f8. And, she's bringing everyone to the party. Everyone but the bishop of b7. But maybe it'll find a way to play bishop a6 at the right time.
Yeah, I mean, this is one of those things where it's like you don't, and for the first time, I think in the match so far, Antoinette is actually a little bit lower on time. Not a very significant, time difference, but still, it makes defending a lot harder when, this is such a cute move. Just baiting it, and then you can take on f3, and then if you take, then... Oh man, knight queen is the ultimate combination, because think about it this way, right? A knight and queen have the most different variety of moves to play. Like a bishop's moves is covered by the queen, but a queen can never move like a knight. That's why queen and knight is such an effective force.
Absolutely. And imagine if the queen could move like a queen and a knight, it would be checkmate right now.
Absolutely, yeah.
There was some variants of chess that try that. There's a name for a queen that moves like a queen and a knight. It's escaping me, but maybe somebody in the chat knows it. But hey, I mean, if you have a queen and a knight, knight e4.
Oh, that's the second fork we've seen too. There was also the other knight fork a couple of games back, but this is definitely, when Stefanova goes on defense, it looks really bad for her. I think that's what we have determined so far. Every time she has to defend, it just feels like it's crumbling a little bit. She's very good at attacking, and she's very good at holding the position and keeping pressure on Tingjie. But Once again, that's not so much on Stefanova. It's more on anybody who plays blitz. It's always easier to attack.
Absolutely, absolutely. And there we are, though. We've got a match, Nemo.
We
Nemo,
do. It's 4.5 to 5.5 now.
Yeah, we started this 5-2 for those of you who are just waking up. By the way, big welcome for anyone calling in from the West Coast. Hope you are staying as cool as you possibly can. And, happy Monday morning.
Happy Monday morning, indeed. All right, Queen to H5. I think Tingjie is getting in the groove of being a little bit more aggressive. She's been playing a lot of like rook e1 and like, just maneuvering pieces around, but I think she's done with that now. She looks like she's a little bit more ready for aggression.
Yeah, it's just tough psychologically as Antoinetta, she doesn't show a lot of emotion when she wins. But when some of these tactics I think are really rattling her, I don't blame her. It's very, very difficult, right?
Yeah, I mean, chess is difficult to play, which is why I'm here costing at 9 in the morning rather than playing.
Yeah, it's very, very hard when you make a blunder that you become like more fearful that you might make another one before. And I don't know if that's exactly happening to her, but it does seem like there's been a bit of a shift, particularly since the rook d3. And maybe you're right. Maybe it's more about Tingjie. But either way, we've got a very tight
that knight is just trapped, no?
You mean bishop c2 or?
Yeah, bishop c2, knight b1, rook b1.
You mean bishop c2, knight b2, rook b1, huh?
Yeah, knight b2, rook b1, yeah. Oh, yeah. That was... Well, the issue with this is that I think there is...
c4?
c4, yeah, because then if you take, there's probably ideas with like rook e8, but then the
or
knight
b5,
drops. Or b5, yeah.
Just trying to regain it with the b5. Yeah, this is
knight takes
messy.
b2.
Knight b2, and now she's trying to trap it, but now d5, okay. And if rook b1, there's going to be c4 action.
There's always going to be knight c4 at the very least, so your knight will not be trapped. Goes back to what we were talking about. I think bishop to c2 is a much more natural way of trying to trap the knight, because after you take, then there's rook to b1. So I'm a little bit surprised that Tingjie was unable to play, well, rather did not play bishop c2, judging by how her tactics has been looking so far in the match. But everybody makes mistakes, and that's totally human.
Oh, yeah. If you're not making mistakes in blitz, then hey, hello, Alpha Zero.
Hello, Alpha Zero, indeed. Yeah.
Or Stockfish, hello, good morning. But rook e8 played beautiful. Oh, God, I love this.
It's so such pretty. A nice move, yeah. Just trying to play c4 at some point.
And trying to get back into the swing of things in this match. As I was going to ask you about your current prediction. I mean, I picked Stefanova at the beginning of the match, and you picked Lei Tingjie, and your prediction was looking not good, but now it's very close, right?
Right.
Okay, what about rook e3 now? What's the deal?
Rook e3, wow. Rook e3, I think bishop d5 was maybe, well, even after bishop d5, there's no point really, because you still can't take queen takes e3. But maybe rook e3, queen takes d5, queen takes d5, and then
queen takes d5 check.
Yeah, and then after king, maybe to f8, then rook takes b2. But I would still prefer playing black here, I think.
Sure, but white's trying to just not have to.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the pawn structure is absolutely ruined for Tingjie. She has 3 pawn islands already, double pawns, 2, pawns isolated. This c3 pawn's a little bit weak, and Antoinetta has the pair bishops. So, rook e3 definitely, and she actually does play it. Right, and we are going to see the line we were talking about a little bit earlier. There's a principle of 2 weaknesses in chess that applies, I think, really well to this position if black is to win this position, right? Her 2 slight advantages are the pair bishops and also the fact that her opponent's pawn structure is a tiny bit weak.
And we have a little informative note here that Stefanova was a women's world champion from 2004 to 2006.
Wow.
And one thing you might not know about her, Nemo, is that Antoinette is also just, really well known for. I knew her at that time, and she just loved to have fun. She was
Oh,
she was very, very fun. She loved to go dancing, and she was known to stay up really late. She was a night owl. So yeah, she was definitely like one of those people who you couldn't believe how talented she was in chess, because she was always having the most fun and crushing it on the chessboard.
I love it. I love to hear that. I honestly wish I could relate, but unfortunately, I just I lack the chess, and having fun is pretty difficult. I mean, not entirely my fault, honestly, because of pandemic, but definitely Stefanova. I've seen her a few times at tournaments, and she seems to always have had a bright personality. Yeah, I actually remember her becoming women's world champion. I think she lost in 2000. Well, no, what was there was a Chinese player who became World Cup champion in 2006. Xu Hua.
Yeah,
I remember that.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah, she was
Mm-hmm.
really cool. I don't know if she plays anymore.
She
Why
doesn't. She didn't
like
play anymore. Yeah, she had a kid right after the tournament, I think, but she's still very active in China in terms of a lot of different initiatives there.
promotion of chess?
Yeah, yeah,
That's cool.
she's doing great work there. It's
Why?
funny that I remember this stuff.
Yeah, your memory is sick. That must serve you when it comes to chess itself.
Unfortunately, it doesn't. I think I've always been more interested in like the knowledge of players and just kind of general chess things, which probably makes sense, like I'm a streamer more so than I am actually a player these days, because I can't remember an opening to save my life. I just play one opening and that's it. I just play the Spanish. Oh, what?
Oh, what? She put that knight where Antoinette could just take it.
Oh no.
Oh my
It was
gosh.
time pressure though. The
Yeah, maybe
clock did tick
a
down.
pre-move, I think, was the
Yeah.
situation there.
It was
Yeah,
a
there
draw,
it is.
however.
And Antoinetta is over 2,700 again, and she's got that 2-point lead back. Playing with white, she's going to get right back into the London.
Yeah. It's really important to sort of realize how if you put pressure on your opponent, they have to make a mistake at some point. They aren't able to keep things, perfect for the entirety of the game, right? Especially in such a low time control. The more pressure, the more you gotta make sure you don't make a mistake. So we're gonna see this line again. The queen goes to a3.
Oh, wait, what? Do we, what happened here?
Oh, okay. So she must have looked at some lines while they were on break, because this line looks
prepared for sure.
Yeah, this looks prepared for sure. Like, there's no way you're just gonna give up a knight, right, in the middle of the opening. So, what's gonna go on here is if bishop takes d7, then c takes d4, and once the bishop retreats, because the knight's obviously attacking the bishop, I think there is d takes e3.
Yeah, you got it. And that looks fascinating. Is that just good for black, or is that what if I move the knight there?
I think it comes down to equal. I was actually analyzing a variation very similar to this one. It was a slightly different line where they didn't play bishop d6, but I know this line from another line. So this is the only time that my opening preparation has ever come into use.
I was just going to point out that I just caught you in a lie. You say you don't remember any openings except 15 moves ahead in the London defense.
Well, I mean, the only reason I know is because I actually had the qualifiers for a World Cup. So I had to prepare this. And I mean, yeah, like I said, it comes down to about an equal position at the end of the day, but it's very difficult for white to play, especially in a blitz game. The king is weak.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, give me black all day in this position. I mean, I don't want to defend this in a classical game, let alone a 2-minute game.
Yeah, I mean, white's other choice in this position is to just take and accept that this is a very equal position, and, that's totally fine too. But trying to keep that piece in a blitz game is daunting. I would not have done this for sure. I would not have done this.
Yeah, just like taking on D7 and then
I
after
would have
take.
I would just take on D7 and be like, yep, just take on D4. It's fine. I'll take the draw.
Yes,
Yes.
that's the ticket. But
Yeah.
hey, what is tough for the former women's world champion is good for the spectators because this looks like it's going to be a super tight match as A5 was played. And now after Queen B5, what was the point of A5? Is she trying to play like Rook A6 to Rook D6 check?
I would have just preferred playing Rook D8 probably.
By the way, that's the stage that my son is at. He likes to play like A5 and Rook A6.
Oh,
out. Yeah.
Oh wow, the Rook left's already coming out. I'm sure you're very, very proud of that. Yeah, that's actually quite ingenious. I mean, now we might actually see Rook D6, Rook B6 ideas.
Yeah, but this is an achievement for White, I think, like because sure, it still looks a little scary, but a little less scary than before. To be fair, because if we pile up on B2, there are multiple ways to potentially defend against it.
So what I think was interesting is that maybe because if you just play Rook D8 and King C2, maybe you had ideas of playing B5 at some point. Because if you just kind of commit to playing A5, then your opponent just closes that off, right? But now currently you have both A5 and B5 options. So
and maybe the other rook also, because I feel like having the rook on the queen side could be of use when you play these B5 moves.
Absolutely. Just so many things, really.
Yeah, I think these are some really good ideas.
Yeah, I mean,
rook B2 check, King B3, maybe your B5 idea.
Yeah. So many things you can test on this position by just not committing. Not committing is sometimes a good thing, guys. It keeps your options open.
I'm sure a lot of people in the chat can relate to that.
Yeah.
Rook D6 turning, Rook B6 check, but the king's ready to. Okay, Queen C7 takes care of that threat. We can still play Rook B6 check, but hey, you can run.
I think the issue is that Tingjie was very non-committal though. So she was too committal with her pawn move and then not enough committal with her rook moves. So she still has a rook on F8 that isn't developed yet. And the advantage is gone because, well, she wasn't able to make full grasp of the position. And now,
But it's still blitz. But yeah, you're right.
It is still blitz, yes.
And also there's like some issues with the back rank here. So there's going to be some play for White too. Like if we play Rook B8, you could potentially defend by just playing Rook D1, threatening checkmate instead of actually defending B2.
Exactly.
So already you can see that the tables can turn.
And B3, now the king looks so safe, which is surprising. You might think like the king on A3, well, you don't have a way to attack it. And like, that's kind of going back to what I said, right? If your king is on E4, but your opponent can't attack it, then is your king really unsafe? It's not so much about where your king is. It's more about can your opponent attack your king? That's the most important thing to remember about king safety. It's all subjective.
Look at that queen on E5. It's so powerful as an attacker. Well, as a defender for the most part. I think that's so important. The queen, not just a brilliant attacker, but such a good defender. Defending C3, which is a critical point holding us together. Queen C2 just played. Okay. So she's trying, to take on C3, I suppose. But the thing is, the queen is also attacking B8. So black doesn't even have a threat.
Yeah. Rook to C3, just saying, not letting you take this pawn. Really safe. Really safe.
That's right. And Queen G2 would lose to Rook G3.
Okay. I think White is just slowly going to activate her rooks and,
But not too slowly. She does only have 17 seconds.
True, yeah. Only slowly on the board. Slowly on the board, but not on the clock. I mean, both players just have so little time. Trading off those queens would be such a good thing for Stefanova. Oh, wait! She just gave out the C3 pawn. Wait.
No, okay. Queen B4, check queen. Oh, wait, okay. Rook D2, good.
Okay.
You can still play King B1, but
King
oh gosh.
A1.
And everything is protected.
I think, Tingjie has to solve her back rank issue now. I was going to suggest Rook C2, but then there was always queen. Oh, no, queen. Oh,
no! Queen B1 check now, right? Oh
Wow.
no.
This is the second time this tactic we've seen as well. Like all these tactics are just so
Oh.
yeah. So what went wrong there? Why does Rook C1 work? Well, let's just go back very briefly. There is actually after Rook C1, if Rook takes C1, there is Queen takes E2.
No, we've seen that before, but we didn't see it on the board. We saw it in variations, I believe, Nima.
Yes, oh, that's true. We didn't see it on the board. It was only in a variation, but that is
And so, and
a very common
unfortunately,
tactic.
you couldn't just move your king because there was Queen B1 check. This ties into the fact that Stefanova kept offering a trade of queens to
Oh,
release the
yeah.
tension, which is a good idea, but up to a point, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, it does goes to show that playing with aggression and playing with dynamics and being the side that is attacking is always beneficial in blitz, even if you're down a bishop, right? Because as you go down to like a few seconds, you don't really have the time to start making those moves where you ensure you don't lose any material. That's always the difficult part. So very shocking loss for Stefanova. And we actually saw a facial expression a little bit there too, where she was just like, can't believe that just happened.
No, it's brutal. It's brutal. I mean, she's been playing so well when it comes to strategy, but sometimes those little tactics at the end of the game when the time control gets short. I mean, that's normal. That's blitz.
Yes,
But
absolutely.
it can't be anything but very, very frustrating for her, as our score now is 6.5, 5.5. She still has a 1 point lead, but this is probably the last 3-minute game of the match.
I'm
Man,
so excited for the 1+1 portion
yeah. Oh yeah.
now. Absolutely.
Like Tingjie is now going to try to even up the score. Can she do it? Wait a second.
This
What?
is the most drawn position I've ever seen in my life. It's an opposite, like that. It's a what? Sorry, symmetrical pawn structure, right? And the thing about symmetrical pawn structures is that pawns are the souls of chess. So if they're kind of like symmetrical, well, they give symmetrical soul, and nothing much is probably going to happen. So
Symmetrical souls. That sounds very romantic.
true, tying in perfectly.
Chess poems, but it sounds romantic, but not that exciting on the board.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, not to get into relationships here, but sometimes if a relationship is perfect, it can get boring too. My take on it.
Oh, interesting. Huh.
Jen is like, I'm not sure how 20-year-olds are dealing with relationships
I was
these
just going
days.
to say that. I think that sounds like a very 20-year-old take. This is too good. It's boring.
Yeah, exactly.
But that said, what's the strategy here? Because Lei Tingjie, does she want to play another game? Is that why?
Not entirely sure. She gotta offer her draw soon because I'm not sure what's going on in this end game.
But she's white, so wouldn't she want to? Like, why would you want to play an extra game with black in the 3-minute?
Yeah, absolutely.
That's odd. Yeah, maybe she's just, what? Maybe she's excited to get to the game one and like just doesn't want to, just wants to cool down and get into 1-minute chess. That she thinks she has an edge there. Could that be it?
Something else is just maybe she's just playing very objectively, like it is a draw. She'll just accept it's a draw and just move on. So that's also possible too.
Yeah, but will they run the 3 minutes out?
That's a good question as well. If they start the game even like a second before the timer runs out, the game does continue. Just because the timer runs out doesn't mean the game gets aborted or anything.
Exactly.
We might potentially see one more 3+1 after this game.
I think that Lei Tingjie will avoid that though, because why would you want to play a game with black? Stefanova's been playing that London, and remember that game with like the opposite side castling where she just got demolished?
Yeah.
Oh wait, she won that game in the end because of her.
Yeah, she won. Right. She didn't actually, but I mean, to be fair.
Yeah, that was like the most convincing win by Stefanova, except the fact that she didn't win the game.
Lost. Yeah, exactly.
The play was just totally crushing.
Yeah.
So I think they're gonna run out the clock. I do. Yeah,
I believe so as well.
And let's see, but will the position get a little more interesting? That's another question. And knight d2 looks like it is keeping the equilibrium because the knight doesn't get into any good squares.
Yeah, but I think knight to e4 is always going to be something now because g4 is fixed and then d4 is fixed, and it's a little bit difficult for white to be making any sort of progress here because the rook is on a1, whereas black's rook's on c8 and e8. So black actually does have one extra open file compared to white. And I like that for Antonetta, definitely. The fact that she just has that one extra open file. Pretty important.
So she plays f5, and we know Antonetta likes to go for it, even if she only has a little something.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I like the way she plays. I mean, that's a very, like, what a fun fact, guys. If you want to win in chess, you got to play for a win. I mean, there's no better way to play for a win than just going for the win. So she's not accepting just moving pieces back and forth or anything. She wants to play for the win.
And now, what about this rook c3? Is that a good move? I'm like a little worried about rook c3 and rook e3.
Yeah, I totally agree with you there, Jen. Yeah. This looks like a very weak pawn structure for white. Bring that rook in. Yeah.
I mean, I guess she was going to play rook b1 to say that, like, I had got my ideas as well. But it did look a little dicey.
Yeah, there was maybe rook takes, then knight c4, and then all of a sudden f3 is dropping in. So many things are just possible. But after f takes g4, and they did indeed go for rook b1 and rook takes c3. It's still a symmetrical pawn structure. Black still has a tiny edge, but I think everything is like just way too symmetrical for anything significant to really happen.
Okay, mash the draw button, guys. 10 seconds left.
Yeah.
This is your opportunity for one more game.
Yep. All right.
Okay, knight e5 here, rook d4, knight c6 check. And indeed knight e5 was played. But rook a4, of course, she would not take the d4 pawn. She'll take the a4 pawn.
Yeah, don't get forked, guys. Definitely don't want to get forked here.
And now rook a6, and we're going to try to take that pawn off. But
this rook takes a5 ideas with knight c6.
Either way. Yep. Either way. And she's just taking on c4, and now the a5 pawn hangs. And yes, you have a pawn, but it's mostly performative because we are going to be able to draw this game.
Well, I mean, it's actually a good question because Tingjie has 20 seconds on the clock.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, you're right. I mean, it's not like Stefanova is going to give it to her.
Yeah, absolutely.
She's going to make her earn it, but I'm just worried about like some kind of like perpetual with king e3.
Okay. I think Stefanova is just going to accept the draw.
Well, she could take on g4 at the end of the line, right? And continue to make the game go on. But she's found another way to keep the game going.
I always mess up these rook end games, honestly. What was wrong with king e5 there?
Oh, yeah, good point. But there it is, a draw by perpetual as we're headed to your favorite part, Nemo.
Yes,
1 minute section. And with such an exciting match score, just a 1-point lead by Stefanova, but with the momentum clearly in Lei Tingjie's side. Yep. And we will be right back as the action gets faster and faster. Stay with us. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Women's Speed Chess Championships. Well, we've got the Junior Speed Chess Championships after the Women's Speed Chess Championships. It starts July 4th, and there's a prize fund of $35,000 brought to you by chess.com and Chess Kid. But first, we have the Women's Speed Chess Championships, and we are closing in on this match, Nemo, a very tight affair between Tingjie and Antoinette Stefanova.
We're going to see the 1+1 portion really, really, really soon. I hope you guys are as hyped as we are because these games are going to get even more intense. They've already been intense, like all the games have been so crazy. We've seen so many coin flips. We've seen the evil bar have a heart attack. And quite honestly, I'm just so excited to be seeing 1+1.
All right, here we go. Your wish has come true. And look at that bullet rating. Tingjie 2,800 plus. How does that bode for Antoinetta? Well, we'll find out soon as we see another London. And are we going to see the same line that we saw last time? Let's find out.
Yeah. So something we were talking about earlier actually is how Tingjie looked like she was pretty slow in the blitz portions, but if her bullet rating is 2,800, it goes back to kind of what we said about how once you switch time formats, everything becomes a little bit different. And while 1+1 is not quite 1-0, it is still very, very close.
And Antoinetta did not want to repeat the last game's affair where her king was in the center, even more perilous, no doubt, in bullet chess. So we've got a more traditional position. A5 just played, trying to get rid of that beautiful light square bishop. Antoinetta did not see any other option, as she does want a castle.
Yeah, I love the light square bishop exchanges. It's the idea of a lot of different openings where you're stuck with this French bishop and then you just try to get rid of it. So.
By the way, we're seeing here a note that Stefanova has played every chess Olympiad for Bulgaria since 1992. She must have been a little kid at that point. She's also played for the Open Squad, Nemo.
Wow.
So she's played for both the women's team and the Open Squad in various events.
That's very impressive, honestly. She is such a legend in the chess world. I've been watching her play since I was a little kid, and I'm really, really, honored to be actually costing while she is still playing. Now that I am a little bit older.
So yeah, she's amazing. So Rook takes F5, and Lei Tingjie has also been really impressive in this match, as a lot of people would have been demoralized by the start. Remember, it was 5-2, Stefan.
Yeah. The start was looking a little bit rough. Now it's a little bit closer. Tingjie is still down a point, but will
she be after this game, Nemo? She just snagged a pawn.
She did snag the pawn, unfortunately. Loses the d5 pawn right after.
Okay, so she's lost the d5 pawn, and now it looks a lot more even. She's still down a pawn, though. She's still down a pawn at the moment, but that b6 pawn is so weak. It looks untenable.
Yeah, but you don't want to be playing rook f6, right? Because there was knight to e5 ideas back there. So this is looking like it'll go towards a very drawish endgame. However, once again, bullet. Anybody can still blunder. Anything can still happen.
True that. I mean, there are knights on the board. Where there are knights, there are blunders.
Yeah. Absolutely, absolutely. I mean, that's hard to blunder when there's not much pieces left on the board.
But they're headed towards a draw. They are indeed. And we will move to the next game. That one seemed pretty well played for a bullet game, that's for sure.
Going towards the draw.
Oh, they haven't drawn yet. Sorry, I thought they did. Okay, but there it is. It was a draw. 7.5, 6.5. Stefanova holding that 1 point lead, and we get another one of these Roy Lopez's. We've been seeing this throughout the match. For those of you who are just joining us, Antoinetta sticking her knight on e7, usually moving it to g6 right off the bat. And we saw this line several times as well with knight d2.
Yeah. We've seen this line before. Don't play queen takes d5. You're gonna run into bishop b3.
So knight e7 first.
Yeah.
Now we can play bishop e6.
She has 1 minute 7 seconds.
Oh my, fast.
And bullet, that just means she's using. She gets a 1 second increment per move, right? So she's quite literally somehow stocking up on time, even in Bullet. I honestly didn't expect her to be this fast, Bullet, considering how Blitz went, but
Well, there it is. There it is. You said it can be possible. The people play slow in
right.
one time control and fast in another. Queen C7
Absolutely.
taking control of that F4 square, which is very important to her concept in the position.
I think this is the part where Tingjie is trying to think about, I was going to say where to put her knight to G3, knight to F5 maybe. Looks pretty solid so far. I mean, all of these games have been looking solid, but Antonetta is using a little bit of time here on this move. I mean, I'm not, G6 is just not a move I want to see.
No, and look at that.
It's a weakness. It's just a weakness, right? It's just automatic.
And there it is. The knight hops back to E4. Bishop D5 would allow bishop takes D5, protecting F6. That's why H4 played. But I don't know. I have a feeling this could be it. This could be the evening of the match.
Right.
I mean, Antoinette is obviously still a fighter. 25 seconds left to 41 seconds. Knight C5 played, okay?
Yeah, this is looking a little bit scarier for Antonetta. I mean, the thing is, right, White has to prove something. But these pawn weaknesses do not make it any easier for Black to play the game, for sure. Just in general, you don't want to be creating this many weaknesses in your position. It could be fine in a classical game, but in bullet game, too many weaknesses just means you can't defend everything.
No, this is great for White. White's playing fantastic for a bullet game.
Yeah.
She's just crushing it. That knight on G5, the pawn on E5. I think she's going to maneuver her queen now. The queen is not doing as much on F3 anymore. Queen E2, love it.
Yeah. Ooh. That pass pawn is actually looking pretty strong now. I mean, this bishop on G8 is quite possibly the worst piece I've ever seen, ever. I mean, oh God, Queen F6 coming in, taking on G6, and all the pawns are gonna drop. This is looking extremely, extremely lost, and Antonetta breathes a little bit, shakes her head a tiny bit, but she has to move on.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, let's think Jag just played great in that game. That wasn't like a lot of the games that Antoinetta has lost, she blundered after playing really well. That wasn't really one of them. I mean, that was one that she just has to move on and try to play better next game. Here she is, White, London, has been her cup of tea throughout this event.
It's 7.5 to 7.5 now, though. So the score has been even. The score has been even. I mean, this looks like it's Tingjie's territory.
It does. It does look like Antoinetta is now the underdog because she's got Tingjie is playing a time control that she seems to favor, and the momentum is on our side, 7.5, 7.5. Let's see if Antoinetta can win this game and regain the lead.
Yeah. Remember at some point in the match it was 5-2. So this is God, knight to B1.
That's not what we want to see. But
however, she just blundered her rook.
Oh my God.
But Antonetta didn't notice.
Wait, that's the whole point of playing the London, I thought. That your opponent might put the rook on B8. That's no.
I mean, I'm pretty sure there is still bishop to G3 ideas. But I think Antonetta is like the mindset is that she's defending, right? So she's doing what she's doing. She is doing well in defending, but you have to always be aware of all of your opportunities to just be aggressive and still attack even while you're defending. But yeah, I mean, Tingjie has made a few blunders, so definitely looking very plausible for Antonetta to come back in this game. Especially.
Absolutely. I mean, this could go anyway. D5, aggressive move, trying to take advantage of some of these loose pieces here. Takes an E6, Queen E6, C4 is hanging, by the way. And there it goes, Queen takes C4. So White is technically up a pawn, but Black's piece is so active.
Right, and I'm just going to go on, I'm just going to say this might be a draw.
A bullet draw. That's a very bold prediction.
Yeah, very bold prediction for this position, I think. You got your rook on the 7th. I mean, actually, if White's able to activate her bishop anytime soon, it could actually be potentially good for her. But so far, it's looking like she's a little tied up still in defending. All right, got knight
Well,
g5,
she's trying to
attacking.
attacking h3. Also, that f3 square. Watch out. Rook h2 mate will be the threat.
Yeah.
But instead, she played knight h3 and now bishop g3. Okay,
I'm
you
not
can.
sure what the knight's doing on h3. I think you have to go to f2 now at some point in order.
Oh, look at that. Rook d8 and knight d7 now are threatened. Because you'd be forced to play bishop f8. Knight e5 conveniently protects the f7 square. Okay, but now maybe h5 and knight g6 threatening knight rook h8 mate. This is a nice net.
Oh, this net is very, very common, but yeah.
Knight f7 trying to save the day. Will that knight save the day? Or will Antoinetta find some way?
Oh,
well, okay, bishop takes g5. Let's do it. We've got the knight versus the bishop. The knight on g6 has got to be better than that bishop on c5.
absolutely. I mean, it's always got to be very scared about this king.
Now, notice
I would definitely be super scared.
We don't have rook f8 check because the bishop protects it. That's a really nice looking bishop. But, okay, rook a, she does not want to trade rooks. She wants that combination of the knight and the rook potentially attacking rook g5. Okay, we got
definitely want to play a5. Yep.
There we go. She's gonna try to run.
Oh, good thing I'm not taking the a5 pawn because he had discovery attacks with bishop e3.
Oh my gosh, anyone can win this game.
Yeah, it's still such a coin flip.
I like how you're using the poker lingo. The coin flip, but who's got the ace king and who's got the pair of tens?
Yeah, who knows?
I don't even know.
Oh, time. Oh my god, the 1 second increment coming clutch.
Oh, Lei Tingjie is the one with the 3 seconds, so she's got the ace king. I'll tell you that much. And look at that, Antoinetta keeping all of her pieces on light squares. That's the technique. This is why Hikaru Nakamura said the knight is better. You can keep all of your pieces on the light squares and bullet.
I mean, she runs the risk of just blundering here, right?
Okay, but it is bullet with a 1 second increment, so it's not exactly the same. Both of them with 2 seconds left on their clock. Yelps are in the air. I can't tell. Oh, 2.2 seconds she got down to.
Oh my gosh, she did it!
And we're gonna get the draw.
Oh, we're gonna get the draw. Oh my god.
Are we? Yes, we are. There we are.
The 0.1 second. The 0.1 second clutch. Wow. This bullet match is way too close.
Oh boy.
I'm losing. Yeah. They're so composed, and I'm just like, holy.
7.5 to 7.5, and they don't get to even breathe as we are right back into this line that Antoinetta has been employing throughout the whole match.
Yeah, what a save there.
Well, who saved too? Like, I guess Lei Tingjie, because she had even less time, right? And she was playing with the bishop, harder to do.
She had the 0.1 second there. The time scramble at the end was just incredible.
But Antoinetta could have lost too, because she had
to
stick her knight on a5 to take the pawn before it was too late.
Yes, absolutely. Some very impressive bullet gameplay, honestly.
That was a great game. I mean, for a bullet game, they definitely played their heart out on that one. Will the match go to tiebreak? Oh, God, probably not. There are several games left, so I do think there's a high chance somebody will take the lead, but it's definitely possible.
Yep, absolutely. I'm liking Tingjie's position here. Just feels like there's a little bit more to do.
Oh, look at that.
Not scared of h takes g5 because you have knight takes g5 and queen to h7 with checkmate.
And yeah, if we played rook e8 there. But anyway, she didn't take it. Probably well considered, no doubt. Now we can take with a knight, and the queen conveniently threatens to trade, which Antoinette is no doubt okay with.
I'm surprised to see so many equal-ish positions, like all these draws and stuff. Very, very solid gameplay so far, which is quite surprising for Bullet. But maybe it's only surprising for Bullet when you're not that good. I guess at a 2800 Bullet level, yeah, it's just like playing a longer time control. So...
Bishop g8, anticipating knight f4, rook a1, seizing the file, bishop to b8. I like white here though for a bullet game.
Mhm.
Those pair of knights that pawn on e5. It seems just like more annoying to play as black.
I
And by the
think,
way,
yeah, it's so passive. Like you got 4 pieces on the back rank. Endgame's all about activity.
yeah, and look at that knight on d4 now, and the time also. Wei Tingjie has an extra 10, 15 seconds. That's huge in bullet.
Absolutely. I mean, that's double the time. Oh wow, h5, such a good move. It's just ruining black's pawn structure completely.
Uh-oh. Uh-oh for
Oh
Stefanova.
god. Oh no, that looks like checkmate coming in.
E6, bang. And look at that. White goes
All
up
right.
up a rook. Whoa.
Yeah.
Up
I
a
mean,
whole rook.
yeah, and I think she's gonna go for the simplification, even though I don't like this that much
No,
because
I
the
don't like
Nets.
that
I don't like
simplification at
that
all.
simplification either.
Because yeah, I mean,
And I
you
mean,
can
there's
just
also like pawns, right? It reminds me of that bishop game where she was up the where Tingjie was up the bishop and she wasn't able to convert simply because, yeah, she
I mean,
didn't.
I think she's going to because she's got 20 extra seconds. But it
Mm-hmm.
seemed like maybe there must have been something even better. But that said, what an impressive performance this was by Lei Tingjie, which is going to put Stefanova on the back foot for the
Yeah,
very first time in the match. If she does indeed
absolutely.
win this, only 3 seconds left for Antoinetta. Looks grim. Knight b7 check would have won the bishop on d8. But hey,
This works as well, I think.
yeah, get it
Yeah.
done is the name of the day. And there it is. Lei Tingjie takes the lead the very first time in the match with
Yep.
9 minutes left on the bullet
We'll
clock.
probably see 6 games, 7 games more. So there's still a lot of opportunity for Antonetta to make a comeback. But at the same time, Tingjie has just looked a little bit more solid in the bullet portion. So be definitely a little bit scared if I was Stefanova at the moment.
I said 9 minutes. We're not going to see 6 more games, right? I didn't say 19, nine.
Right, or nine minutes. Oh yeah, sorry, my bad. Yeah.
Yeah, so more like five,
More
probably.
like 4 or 5. Yeah, 4 or 5.
Yeah, four or
Yes,
five.
that's completely my math. Imagine being able to do math. Yeah.
Yeah, it's people are saying only 3 games. But
Yeah,
let's see.
more like 4. Yeah, four
Four,
games.
3 or 4 or 5, and Stefanova has to try to win a game. That's the point. Even the score and put the pressure on Lei Tingjie so she can't just try to draw or run out the clock. So let's see, can Antoinetta win this position? I mean, I think both sides have lots of opportunities. She's playing g4, very risky strategy, but we know what she's after because she's done this before. She's after playing g5 and then trying to seize the e5 square.
Yep. You want to expand on the queen side or the center when your opponent's trying to expand on the flank. Right. Usually the center, but I mean, I think that's going to come after. Oh, this is looking very uncomfortable for white now.
Yeah, because unfortunately, black now has this beautiful center, so
And
we
this
don't have time for this like g5 idea.
Mm-hmm. And also, this king's a little too weak for you to really push g5 comfortably.
Yeah, and oh god, that center is just stunning. And the clock position, she's got 50 seconds left.
Oh god, I mean, everything's just being blown up. And this is what we were talking about. If your opponent attacks in the flank, you attack in the center. That rule works perfectly every single time. You gotta follow it, chat.
Yes, every time.
Yeah. The principles of chess. You never make a mistake, right? I mean, I like every single time I get attacked, honestly, I'm just like, oh no, I'm getting attacked. But maybe that's like the downside of me playing so many close positions. I'm a huge fan of close positions.
Oh, but you should open things up.
Absolutely, yeah.
Okay, so queen g5, a little.
I think queen g3 is checkmating too.
Whoa! I got a knight on f5.
Oh wait, knight on f5. Oh no! Don't do a blunder. Don't do a Bodas.
Yeah. That's okay. But
Totally forgot about that knight.
You do have 20 extra seconds and an exchange. I do want Antoinetta to play like knight d3 to e5 somehow. I'm like, gotta somehow get back into this game, make things a little bit more interesting in the match. King f2, okay.
Queen e8 maybe, with the idea of just queen to e2.
Good idea. Why not thread and check? Well, it's not really mate, but it's close to it, right?
Yeah, well, think everything is fairly close to checkmate at this point.
Knight g3, so bishop c4 now. She's played knight e4 to kind of clog up that e-file and attack the knight on e1. 4 seconds left for Antoinetta as rook a1 has been played.
Clock.
King on h3, chilling on h3.
Black still has to be a bit careful here. I mean, there's
queen
so
f8
many.
check is in. Oh,
on the flag.
Time.
Oh no.
Oh,
I mean, it's very difficult to play with such little time on the clock, but there was actually still chances for there for Antonetta to just make the position complicated, right? So
now she's got to win 2 games. So it's now, I think it's now or never. If Lacey wins one more or even draws this game, it's going to be very difficult for Antoinette to get back in the match. So now is the time. Let's see if she can do it.
We're finally seeing a different variation. This is the Archangel.
Yeah, that's a good strategy. Mix it up when your opponent is least expecting it. That's very smart.
This is one of the most theoretical lines in the Spanish.
And look at this. She has thrown Lei Tingjie a little off balance, and she does have a 10-second edge.
But I think she made a mistake, no? Now bishop takes e3. Oh, no, it doesn't quite work, right?
Yeah, we do have that rook takes a1. Lots of in-between moves here. So so white does not win material.
Right.
Actually, wait, what's going on?
Black's
up a pawn.
Okay, I have no idea what just happened.
Oh, wait, up a pawn. Yeah,
that is not supposed to happen in the Archangel. Okay, let's go back a little bit.
What happened here?
Yeah. It looks like white. Maybe if d5 straight away without opening up.
So show us what did happen.
Yeah, so what happened was
a white took on d5 first, and then after d5,
now there's
c6. White miscalculated that.
Right, because then you no longer have c takes b7 with the tempo, right? So she had to not take on b5 and play d5 immediately. So that's what went wrong for Tingjie. And now she will be playing this game down a pawn, but you know.
And here she is going after another pawn as the e4 pawn is hanging. Can Antoinetta do this and make this a match? Well, this would be really exciting, by the way. If she wins this game, guys, we'll have a game point, maybe.
Yeah, they might actually
do this. Let's do this. Let's make it a match.
We have a very good chance to actually see in playoffs.
Oh, or at least to see that game point. Bishop e4 now on tap. Bishop e4 would allow us to overwhelm.
I mean, Tingjie is definitely using up a lot of time, but her best strategy now would be to stall this game out or finish this game as soon as possible in order to play more games. 2 ways you can approach the position. I mean,
I think stalling it out is a little bit more. Yes, I think stalling it out is the way to go. But that depends. How bad is her position right now? She's down
pretty bad. I think this is looking like a loss.
I can't count that high. How many pawns is she down?
It's 3. She's down 3 pawns. Okay. That's a lot of pawns she's down, you know? I think she's gonna. Well, I mean, rook to a8 doesn't work because of rook c1, king h2, and queen to h5. So.
Yeah, and then we wiggle our way in, don't we? Is she gonna just try to trade here with queen g5 to keep it easy? Yeah, she just wants to trade off pieces here so that she can't hang any pieces and she gets the win.
Oh, queen endgames are so easy to play when you have a passed pawn.
That's right. That's right.
Oh no. Okay, that would be a resign for me.
Yeah. There it is. Game point 9 points.
So we're going to see potentially the last game. Stefanova is white. She does need to win. And if Stefanova actually wins this game, then they're going to be tie breaks.
We have a tie break. And here's the format, by the way. If the match is tied after last bullet game, a tie break of 4 additional games will be played as a mini match. So guys, those of you who are watching, you're probably rooting for Stefanova because you want to see Nemo and I call another 4 games.
Yeah, another 4 bullet games.
And then after that, there will be a mini match Armageddon if needed. But first, can Lei Tingjie draw or win this game to avoid all of that madness? We'll find out now. Stefanova, the pressure is on.
Absolutely. I mean, Stefanova is in a must-win situation and she knows it. So let's see how she approaches the position with that mindset, right? Always a lot of pressure when you know you have to win.
A lot
Oh,
of pressure for Black too, knowing that even a
mm-hmm.
draw gets you the win in the match. So
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. I do
um,
like Black's position though. I mean, that bishop is a little bit dead on a6, but it's just doing the sole purpose of protecting the c4 pawn.
I don't know. I'm okay with white because I feel like she's gonna get something going on the king side.
I agree.
And in the bullet games, king side action is sometimes a little more exciting than queen side action. But look at that rook on a2. Okay, it's stopping rook b2. All of Black's pieces on the queen side. Now we got a crack on the king side.
Mm-hmm.
Let's do it. As
Ooh.
Antoinetta has sacrificed a pawn. And is she going to sacrifice more? Yeah.
Oh, wow.
But is this going to work? All of the pieces are distracted.
Wow.
Oh, queen c3. Okay, wait. There's queen a4 as well.
There's also knight h6. Oh, wait, but knight
h6.
h6? Oh, wow. The king's just going to take. Oh, man.
Wow. Bishop f4 check? How is this not good for Stefanova? Wow, because bishop g5?
The rook's also hanging on f7.
On
so
where?
the queen is, the rook on f7 is hanging, and the queen is also, you know.
What an idea by Lei Tingjie, just putting her king on g5 and saying, you don't have anything after knight f3 check.
You know, this is what I was saying, right? It doesn't matter.
What?
It doesn't matter where your king is if you can't checkmate it. Like, I mean, if you can't attack the king, then is it really under attack? So.
Oh no, and now it's her turn. Rook b1 check is coming.
Oh, or you can just take the rook on f7.
Yeah, just take the rook on it, f7. I mean, but she has played rook b1.
Oh.
Bishop
doesn't even wait. The bishop.
C3 check. Mating. Oh no.
Oh my god, what a game.
And there it is. Rook takes e1 mate. And wait.
What a game. And there will not be a second.
There won't be another game.
Last game.
What?
Yeah, so that was the last one. Wow. That was an amazing game.
What a way to do it. What a way to do it. Very deserved victory there for Lei Tingjie. Most players would have crumbled under that fantastic attack by Antoinetta Stefanova in a bullet game.
I'm in shock, honestly. I'm just super in shock. That was like something else for sure.
Wow, huge clap there for Lei Tingjie. She got it done. Your prediction ended up winning out.
Yeah.
And we, of course, are going to bring the players back to get their thoughts on a real thrill fest. So do stay tuned for that. We'll be right back with our champion and our runner-up in today's Thrill Fest. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Women's Speed Chess Championships. I'm here with Tingjie and Antoinetta Stefanova. What an incredible match. I wish you both could advance, as it was a thrill right till the end. Antoinetta, um, that was very tough for you because you started off so beautifully. Can you talk to us a little bit about how today went?
Well, I think I just got very tired very quickly, so I became a bit slow and I made too many mistakes. But also, I mean, Lei, she used all her chances, so I don't know. I was quite confident in the beginning, but then really I felt that I'm starting to blunder too many things.
And that was hard for you. You kind of had it in the back of your mind as you were playing the next game.
Well, not really, but just I was not scoring enough points. I don't have really this psychological problem blundering one game, then playing the other. Okay, and you just try to forget about it and just play the next game. But when you're tired, or like in my case, you didn't get enough sleep, and then at some point there is just nothing to be done about it.
Well, you are campaigning, right? Is that what's getting in the way of your sleep? Your political campaign?
Well, not only, how is it with a small kid?
True,
Can
true.
not be 100% sure about your preparation or your time because simply there are other important things to be done.
That's true. Leia, Team Che, your match was phenomenal. I mean, the speed with which you played in the 3 minute and 1 minute. When did you feel like the match was turning around and that you were really back in it?
I don't know, because my opponents have played very well at blades, and I made a lot of mistakes, and I was quite disappointed after 5+1. And then I just tried to tell myself, then, okay, the game just started. 3+1 is a new beginning. So yeah, 3+1, I got advantage, and then the bullet, I think I have a little bit of advantage for that because I play very fast.
Yeah, I mean, we were when we were watching the 5+1 at the very start, it looked like you were getting a little bit of time trouble there. Were you really confident that you were going to be doing well in the 1+1 near the end, or were you a little bit worried in the middle?
Yeah, quite big because after 7 games, and she has 3 points up, and I don't know. I just told myself that okay, this is just a match to play for fun.
Yeah, good mindset.
Well, it is fun, right? And up to the very last game, we thought it might go to tiebreak because Antoinetta's attack looked really menacing, but you were like so ready for it. Was that like easy for you to see, or did you feel a little bit of pressure when she sacrificed on F5?
Yeah, but 1+1 is all pieces, massive pieces on the board. So we will see the end of the game. So I don't want to think about like a sacrifice or not.
And next up, you have Ho Yifan in the
Yeah.
semifinals. So that's going to be a really exciting match.
Yes.
Any preparation that you're going to put into that in your openings or your bullet portion?
No, I just played some bullet recently with my friends also. Yeah, and I think if I play too much bullet, and I will make a lot of mistakes in bullet.
I feel that. I definitely feel that. Bullet is so much fun.
I love that. So if she plays too much bullet, she'll make too many mistakes in bullet. So don't practice it too much. Just go in and crush it. Love that.
Yes.
Well, that's what you did today.
Yeah.
Well, it was Go ahead.
Yeah, okay. After this match, I think I will not play so much Bullet. Just sleep well.
It was a really fantastic match. You kept us and the Twitch viewers so entertained. We really wish you both could advance, I must say. It's sad to see you go, Antoinetta Stefanova, but I'm sure you have a lot of exciting live plans coming up. So we will be seeing you, whether it's on online chess or over the board. I'm sure we're going to be seeing you, and it's always a pleasure.
Thank you, Jennifer. All the best and good luck to Lei for the next round.
Thank you
Yes.
both very much.
Yes, thank you. You put on quite a show. And here it is, by the way. We've got our bracket here as indeed Lei Tingjie plays her countrywoman, the top seed, Ho Yifan, in the semifinals as Katerina Lano will face the only qualifier remaining, Harika Dronavali. So that is going to be a thrilling set of semifinals. And finally, we'll have our final match on Saturday.
Yeah, I mean, these games have been really intense so far. So semifinals are coming up super soon. The first semifinal is on July 1st. And we will be watching even more exciting games. I mean, these players are so good. I honestly am so impressed so far by their gameplay.
Yeah, I think a lot of people have gotten better at Blitz during the pandemic. And
Yep.
Certainly in the Women's Speed Chess Championships, I feel like we're seeing the results of this because I called this tournament or like parts of it in the past, and I feel like the level is just going up and up and up. So
honestly, same.
Yeah, big shout out to everybody playing and all the work you've done in the pandemic because it is showing. And we will be back, I think, with the Women's Speed Chess Championships on Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. I think we're closing this thing out. So can't wait to see who wins this thing. What's your prediction, Nemo, of the four?
Honestly, I think Yifan. Just because she is such a well-known force. You know, she's been playing for such a long time. Obviously, she's a little bit rusty, but hopefully with the current tournament she's playing, she's getting a little bit more into it. I think having Yifan play any event is always an absolute pleasure to watch her.
Oh gosh, she's just a super talent. So you take Ho Yifan and I'll take the field. See how a poker player does it. Gotta get our last little trick
I love
in.
it. Yeah.
But thank you so much, Nemo. This is the first time we've gotten to call, and it's been an absolute pleasure. And I wish you the best of luck in Sochi, and hope to call another event with you soon.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Jen. And thank you to all of Twitch, all of YouTube. Thank you guys so much for watching us today. I hope you guys stay tuned for future Women's Speed Chess Championship matches. It's only going to get more exciting from here.
That's right. Keep your eyes on chess.com TV, and we'll see you next time.